Welcome back to Worlds of Prothika audiobooks. And if this is your first time, be warned. Once you step into Prothika, you'll never want to leave. With beasts who will stop at nothing to protect the women they love, and women who are only just finding out what a real man can be, you'll lose yourself in the dark romance of these fantasy stories. To bring you these free full audiobooks, we have to listen to this platform's guidelines, and they say that Prothika's steamiest scenes aren't allowed. But you can still get them from the unabridged version of any Prothikan audiobook. All you have to do is go to worldsofprothika.com. With promo code YouTube30, we're offering you the opportunity to get 30% off of any audiobook, ebook, or bundle. We appreciate you subscribing to the channel, as it makes bringing these free full audiobooks to you possible. Don't forget to like and comment to let us know what you think. Prothika's magic is eternal, and this story is just the beginning.
Chapter 1, Krit. Sorry for the interruption. I know you were gearing up for a steamy scene, but it's way too hot for this platform.
If we want to keep sharing our stories for free, we have to abide by this platform's guidelines.
To get the full unabridged audiobook, go to worldsofprothika.com.
Browse through unabridged audiobooks, countless ebooks and bundles offered at a discount.
If the thought of me whispering all the dirty details into your ear isn't enticing enough, use discount code YouTube30 to get 30% off of all digital products.
Story after story, audiobook after audiobook, the worlds of Prothika are waiting for you.
Prothika's magic is eternal.
But unabridged, it's unforgettable.
Damn, I finally say. Your body was made for me. She's still on her stomach next to me, and her eyes crack open at my words. I don't think I can even move, she groans. I turn onto my side and begin trailing a hand down her back, avoiding her scars. Then don't. Stay here tonight, just to sleep. She stares at me for a moment, her brown eyes making me hard all over again. But then she lifts herself up and slides out of the bed. I can't, she says as she finds her clothes. To my dismay, she starts putting them on. Why not? I've got an early shift in the morning and my place is closer to the clinic. So just wake up earlier. I can make sure you actually do. She shakes her head. I don't want to risk it. Bonnie is supposed to come by tomorrow, so if I'm not in my place, it won't be good for me. Trust me. Externally, I just nod in understanding. But internally, the thought of her leaving right now makes me feel a huge wave of disappointment. I know this arrangement between us is just that. An arrangement. No relationship in sight. And I'm 100% fine with that. The past 3 months have been perfect. Friends with benefits is the only thing that could work for us. And frankly, it's all we have the time for anyways. But maybe sleeping next to each other here and there wouldn't be so bad either. I swing my legs over the bed and stand up, reaching for my own clothes. Callus is fully dressed now, and I can tell she's about to head for the door. Well, let me at least walk you home. It's getting dark out, I say as I throw on a shirt. She gives me an apologetic look. I hate walking through the settlement at night, but if anyone saw us, well, it's just not worth the hassle of anyone finding out about us. I nod, actually agreeing this time. Okay, I say, following her to the tent flap. She turns once we reach it, smiling up at me. Thanks for offering, though. I reach out and swipe a thumb across her cheek. My eyes drop down to her plump lips, still swollen from earlier. I run a finger over her bottom lip. She smiles even wider, grabbing my hand when I make to pull it away. But I will take a kiss goodbye. Her voice comes out soft and seductive, her eyes twinkling. I don't need to be told twice. I slam her back into the cupboard that stands beside the tent flaps, grabbing her face and pulling it to mine. One of my hands trails down her body as our lips work together. It disappears into her pants and between her legs. When I find her wet and sticky with my cum, a low growl comes out of me. I pull away and remove my hand, bringing it up to her lips. As I stretch 2 fingers apart, her eyes stay focused on the strings of my seed. Open your mouth. She does so instantly. I shove my 2 fingers in, and Callus closes her eyes as she sucks them clean. She moans, opening her eyes and looking at me once she's finished. My hand falls back to my side. When I find her lips with mine again, they taste like me. Her tongue starts to slip into my mouth before she seems to think better of it and pulls away. I force myself not to pull her back. I should go, she states, breathless. You should, I agree, not breaking eye contact. Don't, is what I want to say instead. I'll come back soon, she whispers before turning around and slipping out of my tent and into the night. I wait about a minute after she leaves to follow her. I spot her walking, already at the end of the street. Without thinking, I follow her, keeping a safe distance so that she can't see me. Everyone she walks by, everyone who looks at her, I watch them closely. I know this is wrong of me for a lot of different reasons, but none of them matter to me right now. All I'm doing is making sure she gets home safe. What's so bad about that? Other orcs might ogle her after all. And even if our relationship isn't known to all, that doesn't give anyone else the right to try and take what's mine. Her long brown hair blows back in the wind, still looking slightly disheveled from when it was wrapped around my fist. My feet start moving faster at the memory, but I slow myself down, not wanting to get caught. Callus walks briskly, reaching her own quarters faster than I would have liked. Seeing her walk inside, I'm glad that she's safe, but the selfish part of me still wishes she were safe with me. I stand, staring at the tent she disappeared inside for a few minutes, before finally turning around. As I start walking back in the direction of my place, I can't help but keep looking over my shoulder at hers. And when it's eventually out of sight, I feel just a little less alive than I did before.
Chapter 2. Callus. The morning air is brisker than usual as I walk to the clinic. Practically no one is outside at this time, but I wanted to arrive early. With Bonnie coming today, there's going to be a lot to do. The clinic has been busier than usual lately, lots of humans and orcs to attend to. I couldn't have picked a better time to study under Bonnie. As I walk, the light breeze on my face reminds me of my walk home last night. Leaving Captain Krit's, choosing to sleep alone instead of next to him, his strong arms wrapped around me. It wasn't easy. If I could have, I would have stayed there all night, though I wouldn't have gotten much sleep, which is partly why I forced myself to leave. My body is still completely sore from our time together last night, though I can't say it bothers me. It serves as a reminder, and I like remembering. I smile just thinking about it as I get closer to the clinic. The way his hands dug into my hips as he pounded into me. The way he fills me up in a way that shouldn't be possible. The way he kissed me right before I left. I can still taste him in my mouth. As I enter the clinic, all thoughts of Krit leave me. I look around, noting the things that are looking low, the things that need to be restocked and organised. The emptiness of the place makes me feel calm. I feel ready to start my day, ready to learn and help as much as I can. It's a good feeling, helping others. I still haven't quite gotten used to it. I begin humming to myself as I make a list of all the things I need to do before Bonnie comes in. Restock cleaning supplies, bandages, ointments. Sort the herbals and make a list of them all, including ones we need or will need. Clean the linens and set them out. I start with restocking, walking around to each station and making a list of what each one is missing. Station 1, I murmur. Cotton balls, alcohol rub and linens. Station 2, linens, bandages and ointments. Station 3, alcohol rub and medical tape. Once I get to the end, I grab a cart and wheel it to the storage closet, where I begin loading it with everything each station needs. Then I make a list of the things I'll need to restock in the storage closet, which it turns out is pretty much everything. They must have had a busy day yesterday, I mumble to myself. By the time the first morning nurse comes in, I've already restocked everything I can and have made a list of the things we'll need to send out for. Next, I start organising the herbals, labelling each one and refilling them. A lot of people would find this kind of work boring, and I guess it kind of is. But I like boring. Boring means that nothing bad is happening. Boring means safe. Besides, I have enough excitement in my life thanks to Captain Krit. I don't need any more than that, not if I can help it. Krit leads the hunting team, and if anyone knew we were together, well, I just know it would cause a lot of drama, or at the very least, questions that I don't want to answer. No one would understand the nature of our relationship, or lack thereof. People would wonder why we aren't together, why we haven't committed. The answer is, we don't want to, but people don't want to hear that. I don't blame them, but I'm also not going to change. The only thing I want from Krit is passion, and vice versa. But it's not like we're using each other. We've both consented to this. We both know what this is. I know the other nurses would talk, saying I'm letting an orc take advantage of me. But I'm not. In fact, I'm the one who propositioned him, not the other way around. I smile just thinking about it, how we had instantly connected and went home together that very same night. What's got you smiling? My head snaps up to see Bonnie standing across the room with her husband. Before I can respond, she turns to him, and he looks at her with such a fierce, loving gaze that I want to look away. I keep watching, though, as they speak in lowered voices. Bonnie lets out a soft giggle a moment later, before stepping up on her tiptoes to kiss him. This time I do look away. I feel weird invading anyone's privacy. Sometimes I feel jealous when I watch her and Deep down, their relationship is something I long for. I'd love to have a husband by my side, orc or not, to take care of me, and to love me above all else. When I think these thoughts, I try not to think about Krit. But it's difficult not to. They've been mated for years now, and nothing has changed between them. They're still just as sweet with each other as they've always been. Even having a kid didn't change them, it only made them stronger. I'm happy for her, of course, but it makes me sad. I'll never get to have that. But you've accepted that, I remind myself. What have you done so far? Bonnie asks. I look up to see her standing in front of me again. I restocked each station as well as the storage closet. There are a few things we're out of, so I wrote those down. And I just finished up replenishing the herbals and organising them. Perfect. Where are we on linens? We've got quite a bit to wash, but on the floor, we're fully stocked. Okay, so we've got a lot to go over today. But first I want you to start on those linens, and then we have a lot of things to clean. They weren't able to clean much last night because they were so busy, so we've got to take care of that for them. Okay, I'm on it. So the two of us have already been over how to properly dress a wound, correct? Yes, we have. And I taught you what each tonic was and what each ointment was, as well as when and how much to use on a wound. Yes, you did. Perfect. I'm going to let you practice that the next time someone comes in with a surface wound. I'd like to watch your technique and tweak anything that might need adjustment. I'd love that opportunity, thank you. You're doing good, Callus. Keep it up. There's a lot more to learn. My face heats up at the compliment, but I smile at her. Thank you. I'm excited to learn. Good. Now go get started on those things so that we can get a lesson in, okay? Bonnie walks away, and I watch her for a moment. She's everything I want to be, and she has everything I had once dreamed of for myself. But only one of those things can actually be achieved. One day I will be as good a doctor as she is. Once I've cleaned all the linens, I move on to the rest of the cleaning that needs done. Instrument trays, surgery equipment, basins. I sterilize each of them one by one as I start humming to myself again. How's it going? Bonnie asks an hour later. Actually, I'm just about done. Perfect. I wanted to go over suturing with you today. It's the next step after learning how to properly take care of a surface wound. You need to know how to take care of a wound that's more than just surface. You need to know how to properly close them up and make sure the patient isn't going to contract an infection. My heart pounds in my chest. I've been looking forward to this. I've practiced them myself as much as I could, but nothing compares to being taught by Bonnie. Come find me when you're done. she says before I have a chance to answer. And with that, she's off again. As soon as I finish, I practically run to where Bonnie is standing. I'm ready, I tell her. All right. So as you already know, we have 2 different types of suture material. They each have their own purpose, and you need to be able to access a wound immediately and choose the right one that fits the patient's needs. Use too much of one, and then we won't have enough of it for patients that actually need it. I see. So one of them is for larger wounds? Yes, one of them is much stronger. We have to use it sparingly, but that doesn't mean never. I nod. Over the next hour, Bonnie shows me different suturing techniques. I watch in awe at how fast her fingers move. Okay, I probably won't have you try this out on anyone just yet because I'd rather we stick to one thing at a time. But, we need some help, please, a voice shouts. Bonnie is already on the move, walking to the front of the clinic. I follow her, but I almost stop in my tracks as I see Krit standing there, along with 3 other orcs and a young human. My eyes rake down his body, trying to figure out if he's hurt or not. He appears to be okay, and he looks calm, but the human he's with looks anything but. I rush forward, taking a spot next to Bonnie. What happened? Who's hurt? Krit is standing next to another orc, one who looks around the same age. He speaks up, pointing at the 2 younger orcs and the human. They're your first priority.
Chapter 3. Krit. The 3 of them snuck out and were attacked by some animal, I explain as Khalees and the doctor, Bonnie, help each patient to separate stations. All 3 are injured, but the orcs were able to protect the human from most of the damage, so he isn't as bad off as them. Okay, good to know, Bonnie says. She begins assessing one of the orc teens who looks to be in the worst shape. How soon after did you 2 get there? She asks us. Well, we heard them screaming, and when we arrived, the beast was still there. We helped fight it off. Bonnie nods, turning back to her patient. Good. Sir, how are you feeling? Can you tell me where you're hurting? The orc groans, falling back on the bed. Has he been like this the whole time? Were you able to get him to talk? I shake my head. We were able to keep him awake, but he hasn't said much. He seems to be in a lot of pain. Bonnie turns to the second orc teen, who seems much more alert than his friend. What were you guys doing out there? The teen shrugs, grimacing with a slight movement. We just wanted to have fun. It's not safe out there. You shouldn't wander off alone, Bonnie tells him. But there's a softness to her voice. Something seems to click in the doctor's mind, like her brain has shifted focus. She starts grabbing things and instructing Callus. All right, if you guys could just stand back while we work, I would appreciate that, Bonnie tells us. I turn to Hansel, nodding to the other side of the room where 2 chairs sit empty. We walk over to them but don't sit. Instead, we stand, watching them work. Callus, I need you to assess the second orc while I help this one, and then report back to me about him. Callus moves immediately, approaching the young orc waiting on a bed next to the others. She begins touching different places on his body and talking to him softly, seemingly checking for injuries. The orc points to his leg, where quite a bit of blood is visible against his green skin. Callus nods, looking him in the eyes. Is this what hurts the most? Are there any other cuts? A small one here, he says, pointing to his neck, and I think I feel one on my back. Okay. And do you feel dizzy or nauseous? Blurry vision? Anything like that? He shakes his head. I'm just tired. She smiles at him. Okay, just give me one moment. I'll be right back. Callus walks back to Bonnie, updating her on the situation. Bonnie nods along as she speaks. Okay, do you feel comfortable treating his wounds by yourself? I need to give this patient my full attention, so I won't be able to watch you. I can do it, Callus tells her, looking determined. If anything turns out to be more serious than you thought, I want you to come and tell me so that I can come take a look. But trust your gut. You know what you're doing. Okay, I will. She walks back to her patient and starts pulling out bandages and tiny jars of what I'm assuming are healing ointments. She looks so focused as she tends to the cut on his leg, cleaning it thoroughly and applying ointments before placing a bandage over it. "How are you feeling now?" she asks as she moves to the cut on his neck. "The same." "Good. You let me know the second you feel any worse, okay?" A sense of pride washes through me as I watch her. She looks like she belongs here, like this is what she was meant to be doing. It makes me happy to see it. She deserves this, and I can only imagine how good she feels doing it. She looks good doing it, too. I can't help but notice how hot she looks, even in her work uniform. The part of me that's not used to seeing her in this setting wants to rip that uniform right off of her. Maybe later tonight, I will. "She really is something, isn't she?" Hansel says next to me, snapping me out of my thoughts. I look at him, noticing the adoring gaze he has trained on Callus. My chest starts to hurt just seeing it, but I don't respond. "The things I would do to get a woman like that," he says after a moment. I clear my throat, but again keep my mouth shut. "I mean, just look at that behind. It's perfect." My nostrils flare, and my hands are begging to ball up into fists, but I force them not to. Otherwise, I might just drive them into his chest and beat them into his skull for saying such words about her. Who does he think he is? Saying that about my property? "What do you know about her? Is she single?" Hansel asks. "Why would I know?" He shrugs. "You're in here more than I am, and you know more people." I grunt in response, finding something else to look at besides Callus. "So, do you?" I make eye contact with him. He looks like he's genuinely interested. "If you're going to continue being this unprofessional, then you can leave." Hansel looks shocked, but he doesn't argue. 30 minutes later, Callus has finished helping the orc, as well as the human boy. I watch as she checks in with Bonnie again. Bonnie looks around the room until her eyes fall on Hansel and I. She nods towards us, mumbling something to Callus, who then starts walking towards us. She looks up at me, her eyes giving nothing away. It's like we don't even know each other, as if I wasn't deep inside of her just last night. "Captain, thank you for being so patient. Were you hurt?" "I'm okay." "Are you sure? It looks like you've got some blood on you. We should make sure it's nothing serious, or at the very least get a bandage on it." "I'm sure." "And you, sir?" she asks, turning to Hansel. "Actually, my leg got pretty banged up." "No problem, just follow me." I watch him follow her to a bed, where he sits down, his eyes never leaving her. My chest starts to hurt again, even worse this time, as I watch them talk. Callus laughs at something he says before leaning down and inspecting his leg. I look away, trying to focus on something else, but the sound of her laughing again makes me look back. She starts reaching for her supplies and sets them all out on a tray next to her. Next, she dabs a cotton ball into some liquid before bringing it to his leg. Her hands are gentle as they swipe the cotton along his skin. I step a little closer so I can hear what he's saying to her. "You're so good at this. How long have you been doing it?" "Oh, not long at all. I'm actually just training under the doctor right now." "You're being modest. Someone in training wouldn't be this confident already." She smiles, her eyes focused on his wound. "Well, Bonnie is a good teacher. I'm lucky to have this opportunity. And I'm lucky to have you taking care of me today. I feel better already." I roll my eyes at his disgusting attempt at flattery. "Oh, thank you. I'm so glad I could help." "So what do you have to do next?" he asks, gesturing to his leg. Well, I just cleaned it, which is the most important thing. So now all I have to do is apply some cream to help it heal faster and hurt less, and then put a bandage on it." Hansel nods like it's the most fascinating thing in the world, as if he's never been injured before. He opens his mouth to speak again, but I walk up to them, interrupting. "Hi, excuse me. I've changed my mind. I think I need at least a bandage to cover this up." Kalish looks at me, a little bit of shock on her face. Okay, I'll be right with you as soon as I'm done with your partner here. I look around the clinic and see a small group of orcs walking inside. A nurse approaches them right away. Actually, can you help me now? I ask, turning back around. Callus gives me a weird look before gesturing to the other nurses. There are others who are free if you need immediate help. It looks to me like they're busy right now, I counter, gesturing as well. She looks where I'm pointing, spotting the orcs. I see. Well, I will be done with him soon. We have a lot of work to do. We can't wait forever. Hansel clears his throat. Captain, I'm sure we... Stop talking, I order him. I'm sorry, Captain. I will get to you as soon as possible, Kalish says, frowning at me. She then turns her back on me so she can keep working on Hansel. I walk to an empty bed across the room and sit on it. As I wait, I watch her, feeling impatient. Finally, Kalish finishes up with him. She cleans up the station before turning around and searching the room. When her eyes land on me, she looks anything but happy. She stalks across the clinic, stopping in front of me. Thank you so much for making time for me, I say politely. Her eyes bore into mine. What is your problem? Why are you being such a jerk?
This huge orc brings out the animal in me.
In a world where humans have been driven underground, living like rats is the only way to stay safe from the marauding orcs.
All my life, my only job has been to make sure I have enough to eat.
These orcs of the Burning Sun clan will vow to keep their human mates safe.
There is a nobleness to these giant savages, alpha male warriors who will protect their women at all costs.
Get this complete series of books following the Burning Sun clan for 70% off. Each book is a full-length monster romance that features a giant orc with eyes for his beloved, curvy human. Happily ever after guaranteed.
Prothika's magic is eternal.
This bundle will show you that size really does matter.
Chapter 4. Callus. I narrow my eyes at Krit, trying to figure out why he was so insistent on berating his partner. I can't help but feel a twinge of unease. Krit's rebukes carried an unnecessary bite, far exceeding the requirements of tough instruction. Was he just trying to teach an inferior officer, or was there a hint of jealousy fueling his acidic tongue? Is that what this is all about? Is Captain Krit feeling possessive over me? That makes my heart race slightly, even though I maintain my glare in his direction. I study his furrowed brow and flared nostrils, searching for clues. Harsh discipline or pathetic posturing? Could it be that he was simply jealous of seeing Hansel interact with me and try to chat me up? Or maybe what they say about orcs is true, that they're just intimidating and bloodthirsty by nature. Am I missing something? I look up at Krit, his dark eyes flickering with a hint of annoyance as he speaks again. I'm just letting you know. Hansel's under me now. His words are sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. I furrow my brow, taken aback by his tone. You can go about it in a nicer way, you know, I say, my voice steady despite the frustration bubbling up inside me. Seriously, Krit, you're acting like a jerk. It's not nice. The clinic room feels suddenly claustrophobic, the walls closing in around us as tension hangs heavy in the air. Krit's jaw clenches, his shoulders stiffening as he absorbs my words. I can see the muscles in his arms tighten beneath his sweat-slicked skin, a testament to the countless hours he's spent honing his skills as a swordmaster. I'm just telling it like it is, Callus, he retorts, his voice low and gruff. Hansel needs to know his place. I shake my head, disappointment washing over me. There's a difference between being direct and being rude, I counter, holding his gaze. You're better than this, Krit. For a moment, I see a flicker of something in his eyes, regret perhaps, or a hint of the man I know he can be. But just as quickly, it's gone, replaced by the hardened exterior he so often presents to the world. Krit's eyes soften as he reaches out, his fingertips grazing my arm in a feather-light touch. "Callus, I'm sorry," he says, his voice low and sincere. "I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. It was uncalled for." I nod, accepting his apology, but the frustration still simmers beneath the surface. As I tend to the gash on his side, carefully peeling away the blood-stained bandages, Krit winces, his breath hitching in his throat. "Be gentler, please," he says through gritted teeth, his hand clenching into a fist at his side. I pause, my fingers hovering over the angry red wound. "I'm being as gentle as I can," I reply, a hint of exasperation creeping into my voice. "This isn't exactly a paper cut, Krit." He chuckles, the sound strained and humorless. I know, it's just, it hurts like hell." I roll my eyes, resuming my work with a lighter touch. Does he even feel the pain of his injury, or is he just faking it for my sympathy? I wonder to myself, shaking my head in disbelief. Krit's hand suddenly covers mine, his calloused fingers warm against my skin. I glance up, meeting his gaze, and the intensity in his eyes steals my breath away. "Can I meet you tonight?" he whispers, his voice barely audible above the pounding of my heart. I swallow hard, my mouth suddenly dry. The question hangs in the air between us, heavy with unspoken desires and the weight of our clandestine connection. I know I should say no, that crossing this line could put my job in danger. But as I look into Krit's eyes, I find myself wanting to take that risk. I hesitate, my heart racing as I consider Krit's question. The clinic room suddenly feels too small, the walls closing in around us as the weight of his words hangs in the air. I take a step back, my eyes darting around the room to ensure no one is within earshot. "Krit, we can't," I whisper, my voice barely audible above the hearing level. "The quota for this week is over. You know the rules." Krit's brow furrows, a flicker of disappointment crossing his features. "I know, but I thought maybe we could make an exception, just this once." I shake my head, my resolve wavering but not breaking. "We've already done it 4 times this week. It's a rule for a reason, Krit. We can't let our personal desires interfere with our rules." He sighs, his shoulders sagging as he accepts my answer. "I understand," he says, his voice tinged with resignation. I miss you when we're not together." My heart aches at his words, a part of me longing to throw caution to the wind and give in to the desire that simmers between us. But I know I can't. We've worked too hard to get where we are, and I can't risk jeopardizing everything for a moment of weakness. "You'll have to wait until next week," I say, my voice firm despite the emotions swirling within me. "We have to stick to the rules, Krit. It's the only way this works." He nods, his jaw clenching as he tries to mask his disappointment. "You're right," he admits, his eyes meeting mine. "I just wish things could be different sometimes." I reach out, my hand resting on his arm in a gesture of comfort. "I know," I whisper, my voice barely audible. "But this is the way it has to be. At least for now." Krit's eyes flicker with disappointment, his shoulders slumping as he absorbs my words. He takes a deep breath, seeming to gather his thoughts before he speaks again. "I understand, Callus," he says, his voice low and resigned. "But I wasn't asking for that. I just want to sleep with you tonight. Nothing more." I frown, my brow furrowing in confusion. This is unlike Krit, who has always been content with our arrangement. We've never spent the night together, never crossed that line into something more intimate than physical pleasure. "What's going on with you?" I ask, my voice soft but laced with concern. I cross my arms over my chest, shaking my head slightly. "This isn't like you at all. You're a captain. You're supposed to be the epitome of strength and resilience around here. Our clan's survival depends on your focus." He runs a large green hand through his hair, his eyes darting away from mine as he seems to search for the right words. "I don't know," he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. I feel like I need you tonight. Not for sleeping together, but just to be close to you." My heart clenches at his words, a part of me longing to give in to his request. But I know it's a slippery slope, one that could lead to complications we're not ready to face. "Krit, we can't," I say, my voice gentle but firm. "Spending the night together, it's not part of our arrangement. It's not something we do." He nods, his jaw clenching as he tries to mask the hurt that flickers across his features. "I know," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "I'm sorry, Callus. I shouldn't have asked." I reach out, my hand resting on his cheek as I force him to meet my gaze. "Hey," I whisper, my thumb brushing over his skin. "It's okay. I understand. But we have to be careful. We can't let our emotions get in the way of what we have." Krit shrugs his shoulders, his expression shuddering as he tries to close himself off from me. "It's nothing," he says, his voice flat and emotionless. "Forget I said anything." He stands up abruptly, the sudden movement startling me. "I need to leave," he says, his tone clipped and abrupt. "I have things to do." I watch him go, my heart sinking as he strides away from me. I've never seen Krit like this before, so distant and closed off. It's like he's erected a wall between us, shutting me out completely. I sit there, stunned, as I try to process what just happened. What does he want from me? This is the first time he's ever asked to stay the night just for the purpose of sleeping. The first time he's ever hinted at wanting something more than just physical pleasure. My mind races, trying to make sense of it all. Is he developing feelings for me? Is he looking for something more than just screwing? The thought sends a thrill of excitement through me, mingled with a sense of unease. We've always been clear about what this is between us. It's a physical arrangement, nothing more. We both have our duties, our responsibilities, and we can't let emotions get in the way of that. But now, with Krit's unexpected request, I can't help but wonder if things are changing between us. What's going on in his head? What's driving him to seek out this new level of intimacy? I sigh, running a hand through my hair as I try to make sense of it all. I care about Krit, more than I should, but I know we can't let our feelings get in the way of our arrangement. We have to maintain our boundaries no matter how much a part of me longs to break them. But as I sit there, alone in the clinic room, I can't shake the feeling that something has shifted between us, and I have no idea what it means for our future. I'm still lost in thought when a sudden wave of nausea crashes over me. I lurch to my feet, my hand clamping over my mouth as I rush towards the bathroom. I barely make it to the toilet before I'm on my knees, retching violently. My stomach heaves, but nothing comes up. I gasp for air, my throat burning as I dry heave over and over again. I hear footsteps behind me, and then Bonnie's voice, laced with concern. "Callus? Are you okay? What's wrong?" I can't answer her, my body still gripped by the relentless nausea. I cling to the toilet, my knuckles turning white as I try to ride out the waves of sickness. Bonnie kneels beside me, her hand rubbing soothing circles on my back. "Breathe, Callus," she murmurs, her voice calm and reassuring. "Just breathe." I nod, tears streaming down my face as I try to regain control of my body. The nausea is unlike anything I've ever experienced before, so sudden and intense that it leaves me shaking. As the heaving finally subsides, I slump back against the wall, my chest heaving as I struggle to catch my breath. Bonnie's eyes are wide with worry as she hands me a glass of water. "What happened?" she asks, her voice gentle but probing. "Did you eat something bad?" I shake my head, my mind racing as I try to understand what's happening to me. I've never been sick like this before, never experienced such a violent bout of nausea. As much as I hate to admit it, I'm also slightly embarrassed. Being so violently ill like this must mean I caught something from a patient, and that means I might not have done my due diligence in terms of hygiene protocols. The safety of the clan is of utmost importance to me. What good am I if I'm dry heaving into the toilet instead of tending to the injuries that our orcs and humans suffer? Usually it's something I pride myself on, but sitting here, shaking like a leaf while my stomach turns, I'm terrified Bonnie is judging me. I was doing so well until now. Well, until Krit walked in and demanded I see him, but that's entirely unrelated. Still, it just feels like one thing after another today. As I sip gingerly at the water, I hope to the gods I haven't caught anything that would put me out of commission. Or worse, that would make Bonnie think I'm not cut out for this job.
Chapter 5. Krit. The morning sun peeks through the tent flaps, casting harsh golden light on my face. I squint against the brightness, my jaw clenched tight. Waking up feels like an impossible task, weighed down by the anger that sits heavily on my shoulders. I sit up and immediately my blood boils. The frustration from yesterday clings to me like an annoying itch. I grit my teeth trying to shake off the feelings, but they dig in deeper. Hansel's cheerful whistling as he goes about his chores grates on my last nerve. The carefree melody sets my teeth on edge, and I can barely stop myself from snapping at him. "Would you cut that racket?" I growl, my voice rough with barely contained fury. Hansel pauses, his brow furrowing. "Everything okay, Krit?" "No, everything is not okay!" I snarl, slamming my fist against the ground. The pain shoots up my arm, but I welcome it. Just leave me alone. Hansel's face falls, but he nods and continues his work in silence. His obliviousness only makes my anger worse. His happy-go-lucky attitude is a stark contrast to my inner turmoil. I pace around the training field like a caged animal, my armor and leathers feeling suffocating in the afternoon heat. Every noise or movement grates on my frayed nerves, and I can't seem to escape this maddening irritation. I'm sure the displeasure is evident on my face. Every human I pass shies away quickly. The orcs do better at hiding their bewilderment, but they still don't stare into my eyes for too long. And if they do, I growl at them to stop wasting time when there's work to be done for the clan. When Hansel approaches me later about evening assignments, I snap at him more harshly than he deserves. He jumps back in surprise, eyes wide, before hurrying away. I know I shouldn't take my frustrations out on him, but I can't help it. Across the field, Nadir watches me carefully from where he's training a group of soldiers. My oldest friend knows my moods well and can see I'm struggling with something deeper than just the summer heat. After another lap around the perimeter, he excuses himself and comes over. "Krit, what's gotten into you?" Nadir asks. "I've seen how you've been treating the men all afternoon, especially poor Hansel just now. That was uncalled for." I let out an irritated sigh, running gloved hands through my sweat-damp hair. "It's nothing," I mutter, knowing that's not a satisfying answer. Nadir cocks his head, his dark eyes probing. "It doesn't seem like nothing. You've been on edge since you got back from the clinic. Tell me what's really going on." "You're right as usual," I concede with another sigh. "I've let this irritation get the best of me. The men don't deserve it." Nadir nods solemnly. "Then what has you so frustrated? Keeping it bottled up will only make it worse." I hesitate, unsure how to explain the unease that's been plaguing me all day. Before I can gather my thoughts, Nadir continues, "Whatever it is, taking it out on Hansel and the others isn't fair. They haven't done anything to deserve this." His words hit home. I look away, ashamed to have caused unnecessary distress while dealing with my own issues. My men don't deserve to bear the brunt of my sour mood. Seeing me chastened, Nadir's tone softens. "Why not talk to me about it? We've been friends for 17 years. There's no burden you have to carry alone." His concern gives me pause. Maybe talking about my frustration instead of keeping it bottled up would help. But when I try to respond, no explanation comes out. Just an admission. I don't really know what's bothering me. I just feel frustrated. Nadir seems to understand, even if I can't articulate it fully. His wisdom offers relief when my own mind can't. As the sun sinks lower and shadows stretch across the field, he speaks again. I think there's something that might help settle your mind. I glance at him questioningly. How about a bout in the ring with me before we call it a night? Nadir suggests. Sometimes all you need to clear your head is a good sparring match to burn off some energy. The idea sounds good. Since we were young orcs, training has always provided clarity and a way to vent. I nod, feeling the tension start to unwind at the prospect. Yeah, that might be just what I need. We head to the practice ring as dusk deepens the sky. I wrap leather thongs around my knuckles out of habit. The familiar motions calm me, focusing my mind. In the ring, Nadir bows with a small smile. Ready to clear that furrowed brow, my friend. I mirror his bow, squaring my stance and raising my fists. Let's go. I need to shake off these dark thoughts. Knuckles meet flesh as we start, each parry and strike helping to clear my mind. As we circle each other, fists raised, the rhythmic exchange of blows starts to leach the tension from my mind. Just as I feint left to throw a jab, Hansel's voice carries over from nearby. Did you see the new scout, Callus? What a looker! I falter, distracted, as he continues. With hair like the sunset and eyes like deep water, she's totally my type. Maybe if I play it right, I'll score with her by the end of the week. Heat rises in my chest at his assumption. Callus is not a prize to be won or a conquest to boast about. At least, not for anyone else. Nadir takes advantage of my leaps, landing 2 quick hits to my side. Stay focused, brother, he chides, sensing my distraction but unaware of the cause. Hansel's voice keeps going, talking about her like she's some kind of trophy. Rage boils up fast and hot, blotting out everything else. How dare he speak of her so casually without seeing her worth? Before I know it, I've abandoned the spar and am striding off the field, fists clenched hard enough to draw blood. Nadir calls after me in confusion, but I don't stop. Hansel pushes off the wall, suddenly wary. Captain, is something wrong? Wrong? Wrong. I see red at his audacity. How dare you talk about her like that, reducing her to an object for your amusement? I bellow, getting in his face. He shrinks back, but has the nerve to splutter in objection. I didn't mean any harm. She's just a pretty face, that's all. A pretty face. As if that's all Callus is. I draw back my fist, every cell in my body screaming for vengeance against his insolence. How dare he speak of her so crassly? Before I can stop myself, my knuckles collide with his jaw in a crushing blow. Relief floods through me even as anguish tears at my soul. As Hansel crumples to the dirt, clutching his bleeding jaw, a deafening roar rips from my lungs. All restraint snaps. I am pure fury. Dimly, I register Nadir's shouts, but they seem distant. Rough hands grab at me, but I shrug them off, rounding on Hansel with another punch. He tries to scramble away, but I'm too fast, grabbing his shoulder and hauling him close to pummel his infuriating face. Through the red haze, I see others leap into the fray, pulling at my armor, my limbs, vainly trying to drag me off. Nadir barrels into me, locking strong arms around my chest. Krit! Enough! He bellows directly into my ear, mustering all his strength to hold me back from delivering the killing blow. I struggle wildly, roaring and thrashing like a wild beast, desperate to land another hit on Hansel. How dare he speak her name with such disrespect? Hansel must learn his place. But as Nadir holds me back, my rage begins to ebb. Clarity returns like a splash of cold water. All around is chaos. The training yard has erupted into a full-blown brawl. Soldiers are either trying to subdue me or defend Hansel. Nadir still grips me tightly, but even his strength is barely enough to restrain me. Other soldiers cling to my armor, my limbs, trying to pull me back. Out of the corner of my eye, I see one of Hansel's friends leap at me with a furious cry. Instinct takes over and I lash out with an elbow, catching him squarely in the nose. Blood spurts as he crumples. More enemies close in to avenge their friend, and the brawl escalates, dragging in more soldiers. Punches and kicks fly from every direction as the lines between combatants blur. A heavy blow cracks against my jaw, and I momentarily loosen Nadir's hold with a grunt. At that moment, another attacker jumps in, dragging Nadir into the melee. Curses and cries of pain ring out amid the thunder of fists and boots. Our training serves us well, even in madness, as blows land with ruthless efficiency. But at what cost? This isn't an honorable battle. It's chaos of our own making.
Chapter 6. Callous. Bonnie notices the dark circles under my eyes and tells me it's been quiet, so I should head home to rest. My stomach agrees. Something at lunch didn't sit right. I start gathering my things, ready to crash, when the clinic is suddenly bombarded by loud shouts and groans. A group of burly orcs stumbles in, one leaning heavily on another. "Help him!" one grunts. I see Krit's usual bright skin turned ashen, his hands soaked red, and my healer instincts kick in. "Krit, what happened?" I grab bandages and elf root, my hands shaking as I clean the gash. But he just stares blankly, jaw clenched tight. Frustrated by his silence, I turn to the others. What happened? Who did this? They avoid my glare. With an irritable huff, I focus on stitching the wound, but the wild look in Krit's eyes unnerves me. It's not like him to be so untamed. Once I'm done, I plead softly, "Krit, please, let me help." But he stays silent, staring holes into me. My worry morphs into anger. "For pity's sake, tell me what happened or I can't help you." My outburst makes him flinch, but he remains stoically silent. Throwing my hands up, I snap, "Fine, be stubborn. But if you won't answer, then let someone else tend to you because I need to go rest." To my surprise, his large hand shoots out to clamp my wrist before I can storm off, his burning gaze silently begging me to stay. "Please stay," he rumbles lowly. His tone, usually so gruff, now carries a hint of vulnerability that tugs at my heart. The look in his dark eyes only affirms my desire to stay by his side. I don't want to leave him, not when he's hurt and bleeding. Exhaustion tugs at my limbs, but my heart beckons me to stay. I sigh softly. "All right, let me send the others on their way." Once we're alone, I murmur to him, "Krit, I'm worried about you. It's obvious you've been in a fight. What started it?" But he remains stubbornly silent, jaw tight, muscles coiled as if to spring at any moment. I frown, unconvinced. "Krit, I've known you long enough to know that this behaviour with your own men is unlike you. With the humans, maybe, but not with them. Please, confide in me." Taking his large hand in mine, I lead him gently to the back room, obscured by curtains and other medical equipment. "Please," I say once more, "won't you share what's troubling you? I can see there's some weight on your shoulders. Let me help." For a long moment, he says nothing, shoulders hunched and eyes burning with some roiling inner turmoil. Then, in a low, pained rumble, he admits, "The dishonourable words they spoke of you." My breath catches in my throat at his admission. Krit being protective of me. Slowly, I reach out to lay my hand over his clenched fists, feeling the tension there. "Krit, what happened exactly?" He turns his hand to grasp mine tightly, finally meeting my gaze, and what I see there, raw anguish and worry, crushes my heart. I give his hand a gentle, reassuring squeeze. "I'm here for you. Let me ease your burdens." Krit holds my gaze for a long moment before dropping it with a sigh. There's nothing for you to worry about, I assure you. But I shake my head firmly. Don't lie to me. Starting wild fights will only lead to more hurt. Is this what you plan to do from now on? A flash of anger passes over his features before he growls, No, of course not. I open my mouth to protest further, but he cuts me off harshly. It's because of that fool, Hansel, spewing lies about you to anyone who passes. My eyes widen in surprise. Hansel? He speaks surprisingly fast, as if the words feel torn from him. The things he says when you are not around, it makes my blood boil. Krit's large fists clench and unclench as he glares at the floor. Reaching out, I lay a gentle hand on his wrist. Krit, don't let Hansel's words drive you to violence. I can handle any gossip myself. His anger seems to leach away at my touch, replaced by a weary sigh. Just stay away from him. Promise me that. Looking into his eyes, I see only concern for my well-being. I offer a small smile. If it eases your mind, I promise. As Krit glares at the floor, my heart hammers in my chest despite myself. The question slips out before I can stop it. Are you jealous? His head snaps up, fiery gaze locking onto mine. Jealous? He snarls. Do not be ridiculous with me, Callus. There's nothing to be jealous about. His ears pin back defensively. A string of denials pour from him, each more vehement than the last. When he finally stops, chest still heaving, I sigh wearily. Krit, we agreed long ago that we wouldn't get jealous or possessive. I can talk to or date whoever I want, you know. So can you. His expression darkens. The deal has changed, he growls. As long as we're seeing each other, you can have no other male companionship. His tone allows no argument. Hot indignation rises in me. I will not be dictated to like some object. For a long moment we simply glare at each other, breaths coming fast. Then Krit deflates slightly, running a hand over his face. When he speaks again, his voice holds only weary pleading. Please, Callus, just keep your distance from him. But the fire in my chest is still burning hot. Do you think I'm some common tramp to order around as you please? I snap, meeting his gaze with one equally hard. For a moment he says nothing, mouth opening and closing as he searches for words to diffuse the situation. My anger only rises at his silence. While we've been seeing each other, I haven't been with anyone else, as you well know. Stepping closer, I jab an accusing finger into his broad chest. But I won't have you dictating who I can and cannot talk to. Krit stiffens, the muscles in his jaw twitching as he reins in his frustration. Stay away from that orc, he grinds out through clenched teeth. But I will not back down, squaring my shoulders defiantly. I told you before, I will choose my own companions, I say slowly, enunciating each word. A growl rumbles low in his throat. It's never come up before, why should you start now? He demands in a measured tone, though barely contained violence lurks beneath the surface. My anger flares anew at his stubbornness. Because things change. The world moves on whether you want it to or not. Our voices are rising now, echoes bouncing off the stone walls. Krit looms over me threateningly, eyes alight with fervour as if on the verge of unleashing his wrath. Still, I meet his glare fearlessly. For a long moment, we simply breathe heavily, tensions winding tighter and tighter. Then suddenly, I feel his hands on my waist, pulling me close as our lips crash together in a heated, angry kiss. The wall is cold against my back, but I barely notice as I lose myself in the moment. But just as things start to get intense, I hear the sound of footsteps approaching, followed by the curtains swishing open. I push him away, breaking the kiss, but instead of stepping back, he just stops, his hands still boxing me in, our faces just a few centimetres apart. What are you doing? A voice asks, and I turn to see Bonnie standing in the doorway, looking shocked. I can feel the heat rising in my cheeks as I realise how this must look. I quickly step out of his grasp, taking a step back. "Nothing," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Just, talking." Bonnie's eyes flick between the two of us, and I can see the skepticism in her expression. My heart is racing. I can still feel the imprint of his lips on mine. But I know that we need to keep this a secret. We can't let anyone else know about the agreement that is between us. It's too dangerous, too risky.
Chapter 7. Krit. I shift slightly to the left to see Callus's colleague, but we're still in a compromising position. The woman continues to scrutinize us with that strange, lingering gaze. Callus's initial response clearly didn't satisfy her curiosity. My heart pounds a little faster as I weigh my options. Do I come clean about the nature of our relationship? Or should I lie? Fabricate some story about how we're just friends or co-workers or anything but what we really are. The words stick in my throat as I open my mouth to speak. Callus doesn't even bother. She turns and walks away, leaving me standing there with her colleague's suspicious gaze still boring into me. Frustration boils up inside me and I snap. What? The woman's face pales and she scurries away, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I sigh heavily and frown. I can't help but worry that Callus might stop talking to me after this incident. The thought of losing her is suddenly too much to bear. Undeterred, I decide to go to her tent that night. I call at the tent flap, my heart pounding in my chest. When she emerges, her eyes are filled with irritation. "Yes, Krit?" she asks, frowning slightly. "You know, it's a bit strange how you didn't want to explain yourself at the clinic. I was worried about you. I wanted to take care of you and you reacted like an animal." I take a deep breath, ready to pour out my heart to her, to beg for her forgiveness. Before I can utter a word, Callus glances around furtively and then grabs my arm, dragging me inside her home. The flap drops down behind us. I find myself standing in her small living space, my heart racing. "I want to apologize," I blurt out, my voice trembling slightly. I realized I overreacted. "I'm sorry, Callus." She sighs, her shoulders sagging. "Krit, you can't do that again. I don't want people to know about us because I don't want them prying and questioning me. You're the captain." I nod, my chest tightening with guilt. "I know, and I'm sorry. If you still want to continue this, I promise to respect your wishes. I won't get angry like that again." Callus looks at me, her eyes searching mine. "I appreciate that. But you need to understand that I might talk to other orcs and men, and you can't let that make you uncomfortable. I know you can be a bit possessive, but you have to trust me." I take her hands in mine, my thumbs gently caressing her skin. "I do trust you, Callus. I promise to be better, to not let my jealousy get the best of me. But I don't like hearing the way other orcs talk about you. I won't tolerate it. I won't hold myself back if I hear something I don't like." Callus opens her mouth as if to say something, but then closes it again, clearly struggling to find the right words. I can see the uncertainty in her eyes, the way her brow furrows as she tries to process everything I've said. Unable to resist any longer, I lean in and capture her lips with mine. The kiss is passionate and hungry, a reflection of the desire that simmers between us. We may not be in a relationship, but the physical attraction is undeniable. When we finally pull apart, both of us breathless, I rest my forehead against hers. "I miss you," I whisper against her lips, my voice husky with want. "I miss the feel of your body against mine, the way you make me feel. I know that we agreed to a casual relationship, but I can't help but crave your touch." Callus's eyes darken with lust, and I can see the same hunger mirrored in their depths. She takes a shaky breath, her hand sliding up my chest. "I I miss you too, Krit. But focus on what you just said. We agreed to keep things casual, to not let emotions get in the way. You can't let your possessiveness ruin what we have. I nod, my heart racing with a mixture of desire and frustration. I know, and I'll keep my jealousy in check. I'd hate to lose you. I run my hand down her arm where I let it find her waist. When I pull her close, her breath hitches for a second, but then Callus pulls back slightly, her breathing heavy. Not tonight, she replies, cheeks flushed. I'm not feeling well. Immediately, concern washes over me, replacing the desire that had been coursing through my veins. Why? I ask, worried. Is something wrong? I frown, remembering how weak humans are when it comes to diseases. You should be careful, Callus. Human bodies are more fragile than ours. You need to take care of yourself. She sighs, running a hand through her hair. I know. It's just been a long day, and I think the stress is getting to me. I'll be fine after some rest. Despite her reassurance, I can't shake the concern that gnaws at me. I've grown to care for Callus, even if our relationship is purely physical. The thought of her being unwell makes my chest tighten with worry. Are you sure you don't need anything? I ask, my hand gently cupping her cheek. I can stay and take care of you if you'd like. Callus leans into my touch, a small smile playing on her lips. That's sweet of you, Krit. But I think I just need some alone time to recharge. I'll search for you when I'm feeling better, okay? I nod, reluctantly accepting her decision. Okay, but promise me you'll take it easy and get plenty of rest. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Callus takes my hand, squeezing it gently. I forgive you, but you can't let your jealousy get the best of you again. If we're going to keep seeing each other, even casually, you need to trust me and respect my boundaries. I nod, my heart swelling with gratitude for her understanding. I know. I promise I'll be more careful. I really like what we have. She smiles, her eyes softening. Good. I'm glad we're on the same page. Suddenly her face pales, and she presses a hand to her stomach. I'm sorry, but you should go. I think I'm going to be sick. Before I can respond, Callus bolts from the living space, her hand covering her mouth. I stand there for a moment, stunned, before worry propels me into action. I race after her, following her to the small bathroom sectioned off from her tent. I find her hunched over the toilet, retching violently. My heart clenches at the sight, and I quickly kneel beside her, gathering her hair back from her face. Callus, what's wrong? Is it something you ate? She shakes her head weakly, her body trembling. I don't know. I've been feeling off for a few days now. I thought it was just stress, but now I'm not so sure. I hold Callus's hair back as she continues to retch, her body shaking with each heave. When she finally leans back, exhausted and panting, I gently wipe her mouth with a damp cloth. Come on, I nudge, my voice tight with concern. You can't ignore this any longer. You should visit one of our shamans. They'll know what's wrong with you. She shakes her head weakly, her skin pale and clammy. I'm sure it's nothing. Just a stomach bug or something. I frown, unconvinced. You said you've been feeling off for a few days now. That's not nothing, Callus. She tries to stand, but her legs tremble and I have to catch her before she falls. I'm fine, she insists, but her voice is thin and strained. I lead her to her bed, helping her sit on the edge. But you're not fine. You're sick. And we need to find out why. When Callus looks back at me, her eyes are slightly cloudy, weak. And there's something else there, a look I've never seen in her before, barely disguised fear.
Chapter 8. Callus. Krit keeps worrying about me, about my pale face, weakened appearance. Despite the worry I feel myself, I try to tell him that there's nothing to be concerned about, trying to calm him down. "You look sickly pale," he says to me in a caring tone. "I must have eaten something that went bad. You know how the food is sometimes," I say calmly. Despite Krit's protests, I get up from the bed again, slipping into the bathroom before he can stop me. There, I take a handful of water from the bucket I keep there and wash my face. It actually makes me feel a little better. I'm okay now. The nausea is gone. I see his frown has lessened slightly. He's still peering at me purposefully, though, as if trying to diagnose me from afar. Finally, he speaks. "I won't leave tonight. If I leave, then I won't have any peace of mind." I'm about to protest when suddenly another wave of sickness comes. Only this time, it's not in my stomach, but in my head. I feel my heart pounding faster, my head getting heavier, my legs shaking violently. I feel like I'm going to faint, and I reach out to grab the back of a wooden chair for stability. Krit notices and jumps to his feet. "I don't care what you say at this point. I can't leave you in this state. You almost fainted just now. You have to let me stay," Krit tells me, his voice gentle but firm. I think about it for a moment, considering how risky it might be to let him stay here. What happens in the morning? What if someone sees? But I know that as captain, he's up earlier than most, and if I'm honest with myself, I'm touched by his insistent concern. "All right, you can stay with me and I'm letting you sleep with me, okay?" "Sleep only," I say with an anxious sigh. "All right. Deal," he says, entirely serious. Even though we've slept together dozens, if not hundreds of times, it's never been like this. Somehow, the thought of us being in the same bed, not as lovers, makes my heart beat almost out of my chest. I feel my anxiety levels rising, my blood roils. For a second, I wonder if it's just the sickness. I don't seem to understand what's wrong with me. I try to calm myself down as Krit helps me to the bed, my hand clutching at my chest. But the moment he sits down next to me, it beats even faster. Sleeping in the same room, in the same bed, next to each other, feels more intimate than screwing ever could. Even though there's a thick cover on my bed, I ask Krit to fetch some more from my drawers, if only for a moment of respite from his presence. But moments later, he's back, of course. It's not long until I've slipped under the covers, waiting for him to join me. As I wait, I find myself lying in bed, my stomach churning and my head pounding. I feel a mix of emotions wash over me, gratitude for his unwavering support, but also a sense of awkwardness and anxiety. We've never slept together until now, but the thought of sharing a bed while I'm in this state makes me feel vulnerable and self-conscious. He doesn't have to be doing this. He could go back to his tent and forget all about me, but he chooses not to. He wants this. And I think I do too. As Krit settles in beside me, I can't help but tense up. I'm acutely aware of every heavy breath I take, every weird sniffle, and every shift of my body. I don't want him to see me like this, weak, dizzy, and far from my best. But as the night wears on, I begin to realise that my worries are unfounded. Krit's presence is comfortable, and his soothing way of breathing helps to ease my anxiety. Still, I can't shake the feeling of unease that comes with sharing such close quarters while I'm under the weather. I'm used to being independent, to taking care of myself when I'm not feeling my best. Having Krit here, seeing me vulnerable, feels like a new level of intimacy that I'm not quite sure I'm ready for. As I try to drift off to sleep, not succeeding, my body exhausted from fighting this headache, I can't help but wonder what Krit must think of me. Does he see me as a weak woman that needs comfort? Does he regret his decision to stay by my side? As I lay there, unable to sleep, I feel a sense of nervousness wash over me. Hearing Krit shift in the bed, breathing heavily, makes it 10 times worse. My hands feel sweaty. I tremble slightly. I can't find my right position to sleep. I keep on tossing and turning over in bed. "Can't sleep?" I hear softly through the darkness. How about I sing you something? Some people fall asleep faster if they have some background noise. What? I ask with a giggle. Don't humans sing for each other so they can fall asleep faster? I pause, thrown off by the unexpectedly tender offer from this big, strong orc. But the more I think about it, the more it appeals to me in some strange way. Go ahead, maestro, I tease light-heartedly. Then I settle back into my pillow, ready for a peaceful night's sleep. Krit settles down beside me. He flashes me a warm smile, his eyes filled with nervousness. I return his smile, feeling my heart swell for him. The feeling actually takes me by surprise, and I brush away the confusion, at least for now. Krit clears his throat gently, then begins. As he sings, I close my eyes, allowing his voice to wash over me. It's a rich, velvety baritone that seems to resonate deep within my soul. He's surprisingly good. Who would have known? As the song begins to draw to a close, Krit's voice grows softer, almost a whisper. The final notes hang in the air. I feel him shift beside me, his arm draping over my waist as he pulls me closer. The part of me still awake wonders if I should leave some distance between us, but the relaxed part of me doesn't want to think about that right now. Just enjoy it. I'm on the edge of sleep now, my thoughts growing hazy and disconnected. But even in this state, I'm aware of Krit's presence, his warmth, and his breath. His singing has worked its magic, guiding me gently into the realm of dreams.
Chapter 9. Krit. I watch Callus sleep soundly, her breathing calm, her chest rising and falling after every small breath she takes. She looks peaceful while sleeping, but I keep wondering what's hidden behind this graceful face, behind this gentle appearance. As an orc, I'm not usually one for such questions, but something about Callus makes me curious. It's almost like I know everything and nothing about her at the same time. Throughout our relationship, I've only focused on her physical aspects, but now I'm starting to feel curious about the rest of her. I want to learn more, and I want her to let me in, even if it tests the limits of our relationship. She looks beautiful, and I'm almost hypnotized by her beauty. It's late by the time I allow myself to fall asleep. It seems like I've spent hours just watching her, noticing every change in her breath, and fearing that she might be in pain or unwell, even as she sleeps. Suddenly, though, after only an hour or so of sleep, I suddenly wake up in the middle of the night. Beside me, Callus is shaking uncontrollably and whimpering. I start to shake her awake, but all my attempts fail. Even in the dark, I can see that she's sweating. A look of fear has formed on her delicate face. I start to call her name to wake her up, but every time it goes unanswered, my chest tightens. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, she wakes up. She's obviously still scared, and the look on her face is as if she's seen a monster. She grabs me intensely and falls directly into my arms, holding me tight like she's scared I'll let her go. What happened, Callus? Did you have a nightmare? Yes, she begins to answer with a shaky voice. After that, though, the words seem to get stuck in her throat. I'm here with you, okay? I'm here, I tell her calmly. She tells me about her dream, all the while staring at me as if she's afraid to close her eyes again. Even as she speaks, she's still shaking, her soft voice barely audible. This probably sounds dumb, she tells me, shaking her head in embarrassment. But I had this awful, vivid dream about these huge, awful creatures. They were eating me. Oh, Callus, I tell her, trying to wash away her fears with my voice. It was just a nightmare. I'm here with you and you're okay. She nods, but I can tell there's something else she wants to say. I stroke her hair softly, trying to calm her, and finally she looks up into my eyes with a look that breaks my heart. It wasn't just a dream, though, she admits. For a moment I'm perplexed. I watched her shaking in her sleep, watching the nightmare as it was happening to her. What do you mean? Callus takes a deep breath. As I hold her close, can feel her heart racing. When I was a child, our settlement was attacked, she begins, her voice trembling slightly. Everything was destroyed, and those of us who survived were taken captive. They did experiments on us, terrible, painful experiments that left me infertile. She pauses, and I can see she must be feeling the weight of those memories pressing down on her. I take her hand, my touch gentle and reassuring, giving her the strength to continue. But that wasn't the worst of it. When they were done with their experiments, they left us in these dark, damp cells. And that's when the insects came. I shudder. The mere thought of those creatures being on her are making my skin crawl. They were everywhere, crawling over us, biting us. I can still feel their tiny, sharp teeth digging into my skin, crawling against my face as I try to sleep. She sighs loudly. Tears begin to fall from her beautiful dark eyes as she relives those horrific moments. I couldn't escape them. They just kept coming, like a never-ending nightmare. And the worst part was, I couldn't even scream or cry out. I had to suffer in silence, knowing that no one would come to save me, she says, trembling. I pull her into my arms, holding her tight as she sobs against my chest. She clings to me, her anchor in the storm of her emotions. I still have nightmares about it sometimes, she confessed, her voice muffled by my shirt. I wake up in a cold sweat, feeling those tiny legs crawling all over me, the pain of their bites fresh in my mind. As I hold Callus in my arms, feeling her body shake with each heart-wrenching sob, I feel a deep ache in my chest. Seeing her like this, so vulnerable and broken, shatters my very being. It almost feels like her pain becomes my own, and I find myself struggling to maintain my composure. It's not just sadness that I feel, but also a simmering anger towards the monsters who inflicted such unimaginable cruelty upon her, who robbed her of nature's gift and left her with scars that may never fully heal. I want to hunt them down, to make them pay for every tear she sheds, for every nightmare that haunts her sleep. But as I look down at Callus, her face buried in my chest, I'm reminded of the incredible strength and resilience that lies within her. Even in her darkest moments, there is a light that shines through, a light that has the power to illuminate even the bleakest of days. Her smile, a rare and precious gem, has the ability to end wars and bring peace to the most troubled of souls. It's a smile that I would move mountains to protect, a smile that I would go to the ends of the earth to see. Callus is a being too pure, too radiant for the suffering she has endured. She deserves nothing but love, happiness, and safety. And as I hold her close, whispering words of comfort and reassurance, I make a silent vow to do everything in my power to give her just that. As we sit there, our hearts beating together, I feel a renewed sense of purpose. Callus's pain has become my driving force, her happiness, my ultimate goal. I stroke her hair, my voice soft and soothing as I whisper words of comfort. I'm here, Callus. You're safe now. Those monsters can't hurt you anymore. She nods, taking a shaky breath as she tries to compose herself. It's clearly not easy to face these memories, but I hope that sharing them with me makes her feel a little less alone, a little less burdened by the weight of her past. Thank you for listening, she whispers, looking up at me with tear-stained eyes. I know it's not easy to talk about these things, but it means a lot that you're here, that you're willing to share this pain with me, I reassure her. I smile softly, wiping away a stray tear from her cheek. I'm trying my best to be here for you, Callus. And if it's any consolation, you're not the only one who's been through trauma. Your past, it's a part of you, but it doesn't define you. You're so much stronger than you know. She leans into my touch, and I feel something melt in my chest. Again, not something that happens very often for an orc like me. Actually, not something that happens ever. But there's something in Kalish that's reaching through the tough exterior that everybody else gets. It's both thrilling and terrifying. But there's another emotion there too, something that almost drowns out the rest. Because hearing her talk about her past brings a wave of anger rising up in me. The attack on her camp was, I know, perpetrated by orcs. When I heard she came from the Kayan settlement, I wondered if the rumors about what went on there were true. But of course, I knew better than to ask. This is the first time either of us has broached the topic, and I'm glad it came from her. I scanned my memory for anything else I might know about the settlement, remembering it was attacked and liberated just 5 months ago. I wonder for a moment if any of the orcs that did this to Callus could have survived, escaped maybe. I silently make it my mission to find out. In my arms, Callus lets out a deep sigh, and I'm brought back to the present moment. You are not alone. Let me repeat myself, all right? You will never be. You have me, I tell her once again, and I will kill anyone who thinks that they can hurt you, orc, human, or insect. It doesn't matter to me. I look down to see Khalees wiping her own tears, while she stares at me with her gorgeous, expressive eyes. Then, unexpectedly, she leans in and presses a soft kiss on my lips.
Escape this world and step into one where romance and magic intertwine across realms, with stories that are not just standalone tales, but part of a vast, interconnected universe.
Imagine not just one, but 100 stories where characters, destinies, and legends cross paths in unexpected ways.
100 books from the Romantasy 100 book bundle.
These aren't just isolated stories. They share themes, worlds, and threads that make every journey feel part of something grander.
Fated lovers, ancient prophecies, and the delicate balance between power and passion. Get all of these stories today for a mind-blowing 90% off. That's right, 100 books for the price of 10.
400 hours of reading where these alpha males prove just how puny the human men of Prothika are. 12 complete series where they show their human women what they've been missing, and more.
One-time purchase, lifetime access to a universe of interconnected magic and romance. Prothika's magic is eternal. With the Romantasy 100 book bundle, your pleasure will be too. Chapter 10. Callus. I'm not sure I remember a time I felt so safe and secure. Now, in Krit's arms, I find a sense of peace. As his lips mould to mine, I feel a warmth surge through my body, creating a chain reaction that soothes every nerve that has been on edge since this sickness began. The world around us disappears, and our surroundings become insignificant. It's just Krit and me in this moment, his breath mingling with mine, his heartbeat ticking rhythmically against my chest. His hands cradle the back of my head gently, as if I am something precious and fragile he'd never want to break. His kiss deepens, pulling me further into the intoxicating realm of unspoken words and stolen glances. The sweet taste of him lingers on my tongue, a flavour so unique it could never be confused for another. As I pull away briefly, his eyes drink in my expression. It's as though he's trying to memorise every detail of this very moment. The way his stare lingers on mine makes the air around us thrum with an unseen energy. There is a promise in his gaze, a promise of protection, a promise of love. "You're safe with me," he whispers against my ear. His voice is like a balm on all my fears, healing wounds and mending broken pieces with its sheer depth and sincerity. Even amidst chaos and uncertainty, in his arms I find strength. Strength not just to survive, but to fight, to live. As I nestle further into his embrace, I realise to my complete surprise that this is home. His arms wrapped protectively around me, his heart beating in sync with mine. This is where I want to be. His hands explore the contours of my back with a gentleness that sends shivers down my spine and causes my heart to flutter erratically. He pulls me closer until there is no more space left between us, only the sweet harmony of our breaths mingling and hearts beating as one. It's a melody I could listen to for an eternity. "Callus," he whispers against my lips. His voice is raw and filled with emotions that mirror my own. The way he says my name makes it sound like a sacred incantation, powerful and stirring. Gently, he brushes a stray lock of hair from my face, tucking it behind my ear. His touch lingers on my skin, igniting a trail of sparks that leaves me breathless. I look up at him, losing myself in the depths of his eyes that hold so much warmth and affection. "Krit," I murmur back, my voice barely audible. Our gazes lock, creating an intimate bubble around us that defies the passage of time. The silence is comfortable as we communicate with our eyes, conveying emotions too profound or too risky for words. With a gentle tug, he pulls me into his lap. I rest my head against his strong chest, inhaling the intoxicating scent of him, a mixture of earth and musk. His fingers trace mindless patterns on my arm, each stroke sending waves of contentment through me. The universe outside our little haven could be collapsing, and I wouldn't care. This moment is ours alone, a still point in a turning world filled with danger and chaos, and I want him. I want him more than anything.
As much as Samara and I want to finish what these two characters have started, it looks like this chapter is about to get too hot for this platform to handle.
Unfortunately, we have to pause here because their guidelines won't allow us to reveal the spiciest details.
To keep bringing you these free audiobooks, we have to follow their rules.
But don't worry. You can experience the full, unabridged version over at worldsofprothika.com, where the boundaries of passion and fantasy collide.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off any of our unabridged audiobooks set in the rich and immersive worlds of Prothika.
Prothika's magic is eternal.
With these scenes, it will be unforgettable.
We lay there panting for what feels like an eternity, our bodies entwined, wound together so tightly that I couldn't escape even if I wanted to. Slowly, our breathing returns to normal, heartbeats slowing to a more manageable pace. "Krit," I whisper into the night air, running my fingers through his coarse hair. "That was incredible." He chuckles softly and leans in to kiss my forehead. Yes, it was. Silence descends between us once more. Only our heavy breathing fills the air around us, and in comfortable silence, we fall into a peaceful slumber.
Chapter 11. Krit. A warm and comforting weight presses against my side, and I'm vaguely aware of the silky strands of hair that are tickling my neck. Even before opening my eyes, a slow, contented smile tugs at my lips. Callous. The memories of last night come flooding back in vivid flashes. Her soft gasps, the way her fingers dug into my back, our bodies moving together in perfect rhythm. I can still smell the intoxicating blend of her cum and her sweat that clouded my senses. Can still taste the salt of her skin on my tongue. The physical reminders linger, but it's the emotional imprint she's left that runs deepest. I've never felt so utterly consumed, body and soul, by another person before. While I gradually regain consciousness, I'm overwhelmed by a sense of peace and rightness, unlike anything I've experienced. It's as if pieces of myself I didn't even know were missing have finally clicked into place. She touches me in a way no one else does, sees straight through to my core, and I've bared myself to her completely, holding nothing back. My eyelids are still heavy with sleep, but I fight against the urge to drift off again. I want to savor this perfect moment a little longer before the world rushes back in. Slowly, reverently, I inhale the sweet scent of her hair, committing it to memory. This feeling, I never want it to end. Finally, though, I tear my eyes away from her sleeping form to glance at the clock. It's already morning. How did time slip away so quickly? Callice remains in a deep slumber, her face serene and peaceful. Not wanting to disturb her, I carefully extract myself from her embrace, ensuring that she remains comfortable. The urge to explore her tent grips me, and I tiptoe out of the partitioned bedroom, my curiosity piqued. As I enter the humble kitchen, the temptation to whip up something special for Callice grows. I begin to rummage quietly through the pantry, my mind already conjuring up ideas for a surprise breakfast. With a spring in my step, I gather the necessary ingredients and set to work, my hands moving with practiced ease. The sizzling of the pan and the aroma of sautéed vegetables fill the kitchen, and I find myself humming a cheerful tune. Cooking human food has always fascinated me, and I relish the opportunity to create something delicious for Callus. As I plate the breakfast, arranging the fluffy scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, and golden toast with artistic flair, I can't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. I pour a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice and place everything on a tray, eager to surprise Callus with a breakfast in bed. Carefully balancing the tray, I make my way back to the bedroom. The sight of Khalees, still fast asleep, brings a smile to my face. I gently set the tray down on the bedside table and lean in close to her. "Callus, wake up!" I call out softly, hoping to rouse her from her slumber. "I made breakfast for you." But Callus doesn't stir. She continues to sleep deeply, her breathing steady when even... Isn't she supposed to be up by now? I know her schedule like the back of my hand, and she rarely oversleeps. I try again, this time a little louder. "Khalees, it's time to wake up. Breakfast is ready." But still, she doesn't respond. Instead, she lets out a soft snore, her chest rising and falling rhythmically. A smile tugs at the corners of my lips. Did I really tire her out that much last night? With a sigh, I pick up the tray and carry it back to the tent's living room. The food will have to wait until she wakes up on her own. I glance at the clock, realizing that I should probably get going before anyone notices my presence. I make my way to the back flap of the tent, careful not to make any noise. Just as I emerge, I hear footsteps rounding the corner. My heart skips a beat as Bonnie comes into view, her eyes widening in surprise when she sees me. Her gaze darts from me to the tent, and she raises an eyebrow questioningly. "What are you doing here?" she asks, her tone a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. I freeze, my mind racing to come up with a plausible explanation. I know I can't lie to Bonnie, but I also don't want to betray Callus's trust. I open my mouth to speak, but the words get stuck in my throat. Lying has never been my strong suit, and I can feel the heat rising in my cheeks as I struggle to come up with a convincing story. I was walking by when I noticed... My eyes dart around the settlement, desperately searching for an excuse. Bonnie holds up her hand, stopping me mid-sentence. "You don't have to explain," she says, her voice softening. "I know what's going on." My eyes widen in surprise. "You do?" Bonnie nods, a knowing smile playing on her lips. "Khalees and I have been working together for a while now, Krit. It's not impossible to notice the way you two sneak around." I feel a wave of relief wash over me, but it's quickly replaced by a sense of unease. "I'm sorry, Bonnie. We didn't mean to keep it a secret from you." "I just don't understand why you're doing it," Bonnie continues, her brow furrowing in confusion. "Why all the secrecy? Look around. There are multiple orc and human relationships within our clan. I don't understand why you guys are acting as if this will be looked down upon." I take a deep breath, trying to find the right words to explain our situation. "It's complicated," I begin, my voice barely above a whisper. "Callus has her reasons, and I respect them." Bonnie listens intently as I pour out the details of our relationship, explaining Callus's reluctance to go public and the delicate balance we've been trying to maintain. I tell her about the fears and doubts that plague Callus's mind, and how we've been navigating this uncharted territory together. As I speak, I can see the understanding dawning on Bonnie's face. She nods occasionally, her eyes filled with empathy. When I finish, she lets out a heavy sigh. "I get it," she says, her voice tinged with compassion. "Callus has been through a lot, and it's not easy to let go of those fears." I nod, grateful for her understanding. I know it's not ideal, but we're trying to make it work. Bonnie reaches out and places a comforting hand on my shoulder. I'm not one to judge, she assures me. Everyone has their own path to follow, and if this is what works for you and Callus, then I support you. Her words lift a weight off my chest, and I feel a surge of appreciation for her friendship. Thank you, Bonnie, I say, my voice thick with emotion. It means a lot to have your support. She smiles warmly, giving my shoulder a gentle squeeze. I have a favor to ask, I begin, my voice growing serious. Please don't tell Callus about this conversation. I'm afraid she might hate me for sharing our secret. Bonnie's eyes soften with understanding. Of course, your secret is safe with me. Relief washes over me, and I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. Thank you. I don't know what I would do without your support. But, Bonnie adds, her tone turning stern, you have to promise me something in return. I tilt my head, curious. What is it? You have to take care of Callus more, okay? Bonnie says, her eyes locking with mine. She deserves all the love and support you can give her. Without hesitation, I nod in agreement. I promise, Bonnie. I'm willing to do anything for Kalish. And it's true. Deep down, I know that I would move mountains for her. I would go to the ends of the earth to ensure her happiness and well-being. But I keep these thoughts to myself, not wanting to overwhelm Bonnie with the depth of my feelings. Good, Bonnie says, a smile returning to her face. I know you'll be there for her, Krit. She's lucky to have you. By the way, Bonnie adds, I was just passing by to check on Callus. Is she okay? I nod, a soft smile playing on my lips. She's still sleeping deeply. I think she really needed the rest. Bonnie's expression turns thoughtful. It's good that she's getting some much-needed sleep. She's been working so hard lately. I agree, I say, remembering the long hours Callus has been putting in at work. I wish she would take more time for herself. Bonnie nods in understanding. Well, if there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. I can come by any time she needs me. Her offer fills me with gratitude, and I can't help but smile. Thank you, that means a lot. I'll definitely let you know if we need anything. With a final nod, Bonnie turns to leave. I watch as she makes her way back through the settlement and toward the clinic, my heart swelling with appreciation for her friendship and support. Before leaving, I turn to look at the tent one last time. I know Callus is still fast asleep in there, and I silently vow to do everything in my power to make her happy and loved.
Chapter 12. Callus. The sound of birds outside pulls me from my sleep. Flashes of last night come racing back into my mind, and I smile gently, remembering how sweet Krit was with me. Krit. I roll over, but before I even see it, I know the bed is empty. As suspected, he left in the early hours, and I hope that means no one saw him sneak back to his own tent. Something else interrupts my thoughts, though. The clock on the table. Damn it, I'm late! I exclaim as I jump out of bed. To my surprise, the nausea and faintness from yesterday have passed, and I use my newfound energy to run over to my drawers. I think about how crazy things are in my life while I pick through my clothes, deciding what to wear for the day. I shake the thoughts out of my head as I get dressed hurriedly, then pull my hair up into a loose ponytail. It's not until I'm searching for a quick snack before I leave that I find the note Krit left me next to the tray of food. Callus, I hope you have a good day at work. I made you some breakfast to keep up your strength for the day ahead. Hope to see you tonight. Or sometime soon. Krit. I look at the food and start to think about how decent of an orc he seems to be. I do kind of like having him around. I like his crooked smile and his unusual sense of humour. I grab some bacon off the plate and eat it while looking at what else he made for me. There's some toast and scrambled eggs on another plate. I grab another handful of bacon and a piece of toast. What a sweetheart, I mutter to myself as I take another bite. Then my stomach lurches. I try to swallow rapidly to settle my stomach. But before I can make it stop, My stomach makes me run to the bathroom, covering my mouth. I fall to the floor on my knees in front of the toilet and empty the contents of my stomach. It hurts as it cramps up with every heave. Finally, I think the heaving and vomiting is passing, and I flop on the floor and lean against the toilet, breathing slowly. My mind starts to race, and to my surprise, I start thinking that I might be pregnant. No, I can't be pregnant. That's impossible, I tell myself as I stare at the tense fabric ceiling. Bonnie already told me that having babies wasn't possible. After the experiments and the tears start to roll out of my eyes. The thought of my loss still hurts. For a long time now, I've accepted that children just aren't possible for me, and accepted that it was for the best. I keep telling myself that it's for the best as the tears continue to flow. You don't have to have a baby to be fulfilled, I tell the ceiling. I close my eyes, take in a deep breath, and shake all of the thoughts away. This is nothing, just a little upset stomach. It is nothing to be worried about, I whisper. I stand up and walk to the wooden bucket of water. I wash my face and brush my teeth before heading out the door with a regretful glance at the thoughtfully made breakfast now going to waste. I'm still late though, and as I step outside my tent, I know I have other things to worry about. I run down the road to the clinic and arrive breathless to find Bonnie waiting for me. Bonnie, I'm so sorry I'm late. I had kind of an interesting morning, I explain. Oh, really? Bonnie asks with a smirk that I can't quite pass. Yeah, like, bad dreams, I admit, leaving out the part about Krit. And I'm still feeling a little under the weather. At least the last part is true. It's all right, Bonnie says with a look of understanding. I wasn't expecting you in for a while after. Bonnie suddenly stops herself and shifts rapidly into another sentence. I mean, is everything okay? Do you need to take the day off? I give her a strange look, but I can already tell it's a bad idea to push it. Instead, I answer her question. No, I'm fine. The feeling has passed. Bonnie simply nods and smiles and hands me my assignments for the day. Some assignments are treating simple injuries or illnesses, vitals checks and study materials. I take my work happily and get to it, trying not to think too hard about that awkward moment with Bonnie. In any case, I'm too busy for it to take up much space in my mind. I check all the vitals on my list and treat 2 patients. One of the patients on my list has a change in condition that I can't treat. I find Bonnie to treat the new symptoms and then take notes so that I know what to do next time. After a whirlwind morning, I finally go off to lunch. I sit outside the clinic, eating the special of the day, stag meat stew. Bonnie brought me a bowl. My stomach has finally settled to my immense relief. As I enjoy my meal, though, I spot a familiar face. Hey Hansel, how are you? I ask, as he approaches my bench and sits down with a grin. I am all right. Been pretty busy, a lot of work to do. He smiles. I nod, happy for the uncomplicated conversation in the midst of several very complicated days. I can understand that. Life can get pretty crazy sometimes. We make a little small talk about work. It feels nice to just talk about something banal, and it gives me the opportunity to not really think about my morning. Soon, though, Hansel starts to fidget and look a little nervous. I look at him, confused, but say nothing, waiting for him to speak. So, I was thinking, he begins, maybe we could get dinner together sometime. The words come out suddenly, and for a second I'm surprised and confused. I wasn't aware that he had such feelings for me. As far as I can tell, he's usually a pretty upfront kind of orc. Why didn't he say something before? I know I'm not attracted to him in the least, but I don't want to hurt his feelings. I try to answer in a way that will allow me to let him down nicely. Hansel, I'm flattered, but I just have way too much going on right now. I don't really have time to date anyone, I tell him. Come on, I know we don't know each other that well, but there's definitely some chemistry here. It's easy to talk to you, and I know I make you laugh. Just give me a chance, he counters. Sorry, I'm just not in the right place in my life to consider dating, I reiterate. He stands up and looks at me with determination. I won't give up. No matter how long it takes, I will win you over, he announces loudly. I get up, glaring at Hansel, and walk towards the side of the clinic. My lunch has been unceremoniously interrupted, and I don't feel like eating anymore. I need some fresh air, and to not see or speak to another person for a while. I sit with my back against the tent wall and my eyes closed. I'm hidden behind a wall of shrubs and rose bushes. They're a little unkempt, but I don't mind. I start to feel my stomach lurch again, and a second later I've thrown up the stag stew I just ate. I can't tell if it's the nerves from what just happened, though, or this mystery illness. Either way, I manage to collect myself and decide that I should return to work. I get up from my spot on the wall and leave my secret garden. I return to my work, avoiding as many people as I can. The patient from the morning who needed more treatment is starting to improve. The rest of my patients seem to be healing and in good spirits. This makes me happy. At least some good things happen today, I think to myself.
Chapter 13. Krit. The morning sun beats down relentlessly, its rays scorching the back of my neck as I make my way across the dusty compound. I offer courtesy nods to the few orc warriors I pass, my expression a carefully curated mask of indifference. I love the fact that I have the chance to spend a few hours alone checking the outside perimeter, allowing the methodical rhythm of my tasks to clear my head. The solitude, the physical exertion, the way the world seems to narrow to just the crunch of my feet against the dirt. It's a welcome reprieve from the constant noise and chaos. I pause at the edge of the settlement, squinting against the harsh glare as I survey the vast expanse of wilderness stretching out around the settlement. When I'm satisfied, I step into the base, my mind still focused on the tracks I found in the soft soil near the perimeter. But soon the chatter of voices pulls me from my thoughts. Something must have happened while I was away. People are gathered in small groups, whispering excitedly and casting glances towards the clinic-cum-hospital. Curiosity gets the better of me, and I approach one of the groups. "What's going on?" I ask, my brows furrowed in confusion. "Haven't you heard?" One of our young warriors, Troku, replies, his eyes wide with excitement. "Hansel confessed his feelings for Callus. Some humans overheard it, and they've been spreading the news throughout the clan." My heart skips a beat, and I feel my throat tighten. "What do you mean?" "He stood right there." Troku points outside the clinic, and declared his love for her, said he would do anything to win her over. I'm stunned. I was only gone for a few hours, checking for traces of wild animals that might pose a threat to our base. How could so much have happened in such a short time? Another soldier, Hekar, chimes in. "It was really brave of him, don't you think? To put himself out there like that?" I nod absently, my mind reeling. How could this have happened? Didn't I warn them both? But I also promised Callus I'd rein in my jealousy, and I'm sure that if I let the envy that's bubbling in my chest break loose, I'll lose her for good this time. I glance towards the clinic, my heart pounding in my chest. What does this mean for me? For the tentative relationship Callus and I have been building? I suddenly feel foolish for not making my own feelings clear sooner. As I stand there, lost in thought, I hear snippets of conversation floating around me. I wonder what she'll say. Do you think she feels the same way? I always thought there was something between them. Each word feels like a blow to my chest, and I realize that I need to talk to Callus. I need to know where I stand. But first, I need to gather my thoughts and figure out what I want to say. With a deep breath, I turn away from the gossiping groups and head towards my quarters, my mind swirling with emotions I'm not quite ready to face. As I make my way through the settlement, I can't help but overhear more conversations about Hansel and Callus. Each word feels like a twist of the knife in my gut, and I find myself seeking out more information, desperate to know every detail. I pull aside a few of my closest friends, trying to keep my voice steady as I ask them what they know. Their answers are all the same. Hansel's confession was bold, romantic, and has captured the attention of everyone within the clan. With each new piece of information, I feel the color draining from my face. My mind races with possibilities, each one more painful than the last. What if Callus is swayed by Hansel's grand gesture? What if she decides that he is the one she wants, and I become nothing more than a distant memory? The thought of losing her is like a physical ache in my chest, a hand constricting around my heart and squeezing until I can barely breathe. I've never felt pain like this before, not even in the heat of battle when the adrenaline is pumping and the stakes are life and death. I try to steady myself, but I can feel the cold sweat beating on my forehead and trickling down my back. My hands shake, and I clench them into fists to hide the tremors. I'm not used to feeling this way, vulnerable, exposed, and utterly terrified of what the future might hold. I faced ambushes and firefights without flinching, but the idea of Callus choosing someone else over me is enough to bring me to my knees. I realize now, with startling clarity, just how much she means to me. She's not just a casual fling or a pleasant distraction from the horrors of war. She's someone I can't imagine my life without. But what can I do? Hansel has made his move, and I'm left reeling in the aftermath. I know I need to talk to Callus, to tell her how I feel and beg her not to leave me behind. But the words stick in my throat, and I'm paralyzed by the fear of rejection. I slump down in a chair in my quarters, my head in my hands as I try to gather my thoughts. I've never been one to back down from a challenge, but this feels different. This isn't a battle I can win with violence. This is a battle for Callus's heart, and I'm terrified that I might have already lost. I take a deep breath and pull myself up off the chair, my mind made up. I can't sit here and wallow in my own fears and insecurities. I need to talk to Callus, to hear from her own lips what she thinks about Hansel's confession. My feet carry me toward the clinic, my heart pounding in my chest with every step. I pause at the entrance, trying to calm my racing thoughts. I need an excuse to see her, something that won't raise suspicions. I glance down at my hand and make a split-second decision. I pull out my knife and make a shallow cut across my palm, wincing at the sting. It's not much, but it's enough to justify a visit to the clinic. I push through the doors and scan the room, my eyes searching for Callus. I spot her in the corner, bent over a patient's bed. She looks up as I approach, her eyes widening in surprise. "Krit, what are you doing here?" she asks, her voice laced with concern. I hold up my hand, the blood already starting to clot. "Had a little accident. Think you could patch me up?" She nods and leads me to a private room, closing the door behind us. I lean against the wall, my heart hammering in my chest as I try to find the words. "Callus, I start, but she cuts me off. "I know why you're here, Krit," she says softly. "You heard about Hansel." I nod, swallowing hard. "Is it true? Did he really—" She sighs and runs a hand through her hair. "Yes, he did. But Krit, this isn't the place to talk about this. We're in the middle of a shift, and I have patients waiting." I feel a surge of panic rising in my chest. Is she trying to brush me off? Does this mean she's already made her choice? "Did you refuse him?" I blurt out, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to keep it steady. She looks at me, her eyes searching mine. "Yes, I told him I don't have time for dating. But Krit, I really can't do this right now. We'll talk later, okay?" I nod, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos of my emotions. She turned him down. That has to mean something, right? I let her bandage my hand, barely registering the sting of the antiseptic. My mind is racing with possibilities, with the fear that I might still lose her even though she rejected Hansel. What are these thoughts? I shouldn't even be entertaining them. But they keep coming back. They fester in my mind. Losing Callus feels worse than getting struck down in battle. As she finishes up, I catch her hand in mine. "We'll talk later, right?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. She nods, her eyes softening. "I promise. Now go get some rest. You look like you need it." I leave the clinic, my heart still pounding but my mind a little clearer. I know this isn't over yet, but at least I have a chance. At least she hasn't written me off completely. I just hope that when we do talk, I'll find the courage to tell her how I really feel. Callus's words echo in my head, a bittersweet melody that fills me with both relief and despair. She turned Hansel down. She said she has no time to date. On one hand, it feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I don't have to worry about losing her to him. At least not right now. But as I walk through the settlement, the reality of our situation starts to sink in. If she doesn't have time to date Hansel, then she doesn't have time to date me either. We'll never be more than what we are now. We share a connection, but we can't commit to anything more. The thought makes my chest ache with a dull, persistent pain. I've never been one for commitment, always preferring to keep things casual and uncomplicated. But with Khalees, everything feels different. The idea of her loving someone else, of forgetting about me and replacing me with another orc, makes my stomach churn and my palms sweat. I stop in my tracks, leaning against a wall as I try to catch my breath. What is happening to me? Why do I feel this way? I've never been the jealous type, never cared enough about anyone to let their actions affect me like this. But Callus, she's different. She's gotten under my skin in a way that no one else has before. And now I'm left with a choice. Do I continue to play it safe, to keep things casual, and risk losing her forever? Or do I take a chance, put my heart on the line, and tell her how I really feel? The thought of commitment still makes me nervous, still fills me with a sense of unease. But the alternative, watching Callus fall in love with someone else, seeing her slip away from me, is no good either. I've no idea if I should make the leap or cut her out of my life completely before anything worse happens. I promised her no jealousy, and I'm not sure I can keep that promise anymore. At the same time, I'm a tough orc warrior. I'm not exactly partner material, and certainly not a romantic. If anyone could make me want to try, it would be Callus, but is that enough?
Chapter 14. Callus. It's been 5 long days since I've seen him. It's not unlike him to spend most of his time out in the wild. Bonnie reassures me as we sit in the cantina and she drinks her morning coffee. I know, I say reluctantly, not wanting to divulge my real fear, that he's avoiding me. Because if that's the case, I'd hope he would at least have the decency to tell me what exactly warranted it. If he wants to play incognito, that's on him. I have bigger concerns to deal with at the moment. The main one being that it's been a week since I started feeling ill, and the sickness hasn't subsided. If anything, it's more frequent. After 2 or 3 days of nausea and dry heaving, I've given up on thinking that it's just some sort of stomach virus I've caught or something I've eaten that disagreed with me. Despite the huge improbability that I could be pregnant, I seem to have no other explanation for the strange array of symptoms I've been experiencing. And deep down, I know Bonnie already has her suspicions about my illness and about who might have caused it. I spend more time with her than anyone else. It was silly of me to think she wouldn't catch on sooner or later. To my relief, though, she hasn't said anything outright yet. And as much as I'd like to share my hopes and fears with someone, part of me is scared of mentioning it to her. I'm afraid of what her judgment may be, or even worse, her pity if it turns out I'm not pregnant after all. Plus, I'm not sure I want to be around anyone if my suspicions are wrong. The disappointment and heartbreak would be evident on my face. Gods know I want a child more than anything in this world, but I've buried that desire so deep that no one would ever suspect it lingers. After nearly a decade of pretending I have no interest in bearing children, the act comes naturally now. But in unguarded moments, my mind drifts to what it would be like to cradle a baby in my arms, to watch a little one grow and learn beside me as I guide them through life. Those daydreams always end in heartache, so I've learned not to indulge them often. The sting of losing my fertility was devastating, but I eventually made peace with it, or so I led everyone to believe. Inside, the yearning never faded, and now this mysterious illness has dredged up that dormant dream of motherhood. I take a sip of my own coffee, but it's a very tentative one. These days, there's no way of knowing what will set off the nausea, and I have no desire to embarrass myself in front of the whole cantina. Not again. To my relief, the coffee goes down smooth, but as we sit in comfortable silence, I can't stop my traitorous mind from wondering. What if a miracle has occurred? Could there be a new life blossoming inside me? Treacherous hope fills my chest, though I try desperately to tamp it down. I know the odds are infinitesimal, and believing will only lead to more pain when reality sets back in. But until I know for sure, the what-ifs persist no matter how hard I try to silence them. What if this impossibility came to be? How would Krit react to the news of an unexpected child between us? We've never discussed having a family. Would he even want to be a father? My heart aches at the thought he might turn away. This storm of unspoken hopes and fears exhausts me. I wrap my arms around my middle, allowing myself just a moment to imagine the possibilities. Then I take a deep breath and strengthen my resolve. Whatever truth awaits, I will face it with courage. The not knowing is torture. I need to find certainty one way or another. I'm pulled from my inner reflections as someone walks past bearing a plate of freshly baked cookies. The smell, which normally would have me salivating, instantly turns my stomach. I clamp a hand over my mouth and nose, but it's too late. My insides lurch violently. "I'm so sorry, please excuse me." I manage to gasp out while dodging people and sprinting to the clinic bathroom. I crash to my knees in front of the toilet and empty the meagre contents of my stomach. The forceful heaving brings tears to my eyes. When the retching finally ceases, I sit back on my heels, breathless and trembling. This seems to confirm my deepest suspicions. Both anticipation and anxiety twists my gut. I need to know for sure. It's time to talk to Bonnie. As if the universe manifests it for me, I turn to face the entrance of the bathroom, and Bonnie is standing in the doorway, a look of concern etched on her face. I guess there's no better time than the present. I sigh and slump back against the toilet, preparing to confide in her. If I can just muster the strength to get up and face her. The minute I start to pull myself off the floor, the room begins to spin, and my stomach decides it hasn't been well enough acquainted with the toilet. I hover over the toilet again. Bonnie rushes over and brushes the hair back that's plastered to my face from sweat. "Callous," she starts. "I think you might want to take a pregnancy test." My eyes meet hers, and no other words need to be said. She knows of my many years of infertility. She knows the reluctance I have over getting my hopes up to be let down. She knows of the heartbreak I'm trying to avoid. But she understands. More than anyone, she understands. With her hand outstretched and a smile, she helps me off the bathroom floor. "Okay, let's go do this." She smiles down at me. "Yes, okay." I nod vigorously. She wraps her arms around my shoulders, supporting me as we walk out of the bathroom to find out my fate.
Chapter 15. Krit. Gods, what is wrong with you? Damon, one of my orcs, asks. I roll my eyes and ignore him. I have to wonder where he got the notion that it's any of his business. He shakes his head. Respectfully, Captain, your head hasn't been in it for a while. What's the deal? Barely allowing him to finish his sentence, I spin around quickly with a drawn fist, ready to connect with his jaw. He shuffles back. I give him a warning growl before turning away again. Thankfully, he doesn't say anything else this time, and I take off on a jog, willing myself to burn off the energy that's been coursing through my veins for days now. Okay, so I admit I've been a little off lately. But you can blame the brunette with legs for days, that one. Callus is like an addiction. Once you get a taste, you never forget that feeling, and you'll chase that high for the rest of your life, even though you know it could be to your own demise. In my case, that demise being the fact that I can't decide what to do. I can't seem to walk away, even though I know I should. I make my way toward the perimeter of the settlement, but so far, the jog has done nothing to clear my mind. If anything, it's only making me more frustrated with myself for losing focus. My feelings for Callus are growing stronger every day, yet the idea of committing to her still terrifies me. I swore I'd never let myself get tied down. But there's something about Calise that draws me to her, no matter how hard I try to resist. We've been enjoying each other's company for years now, so the fact that I've begrudgingly kept myself away from her the past 5 days has been torture. The intimacy we've started to share goes beyond anything I've experienced before. With her, I feel at peace, and all my worries fade away. But the closer we grow, the more my fear takes over. I know that if I commit fully to her, I'm probably not going to live up to her expectations. My real calling in life is as a warrior. Can I have both? More days pass in a blur as my confusion over Callus only intensifies. I've been successful in my plan of avoiding her, but I find myself constantly wanting to give in to my feelings for her fully, just going to see her. I realize the only way out of this is to end things before they can progress further. If I cut it off now, maybe the pain won't run as deep. It's better this way, I try to convince myself. It's never going to work out, so I better just face facts now and get it over with. I call out for my team and tell them they can head back to base. Hell, they're the only ones that have done anything productive today. As the men disperse, I make my way to the clinic, steeling my nerves for what's to come. I brush the dirt and grime from my body, trying to prepare what I'll say to Callus. But no words seem good enough to explain my decision. I pace outside, waiting anxiously for Callus to emerge. My mind is in turmoil over what I'm about to do. When she finally appears, the sight of her bright face causes my resolve to falter. Krit, it's nice to see you. I was starting to wonder if I needed to hang lost animal posters soon, she says sarcastically and with grit. She's trying to be funny, but I can tell my absence has hurt her. I was hoping we could talk. My voice sticks in my throat as I force out the words. Me too. Can we walk? She nods and falls into step beside me. I struggle to find the words to begin. As we wander through the camp, she turns to me expectantly. What did you want to discuss? I think I'll wait to share my news. They say to save the best for last. She laughs, fidgeting with her hands. Callus's words echo in my mind, filling me with both hope and dread. What if she is about to profess her feelings to me? If that's the case, I couldn't trust myself not to say, screw it, carry her off to my tent and have my way with her again. But would that be right, knowing I'll never be able to provide her with everything she deserves? She seems to sense my unease, her smile faltering with concern. I take a deep breath, gathering what's left of my resolve. Callus, I think we should stop this arrangement between us.
From the depths of the darkness of Prothika,
Or clawing up from the realms of fantasy.
come the most fearsome beasts you have ever seen.
These monsters are done watching from the shadows.
Now, as they step into the light, something unexpected grips them.
Something even they can't fight off.
Love,
Vampires.
demons,
Dark elves.
gods.
Minotaurs. Creatures of light and dark.
They will protect their mates.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Morally grey heroes who will burn the world to protect the women who love them.
10 audiobooks.
Fall into over 60 hours of fantasy romance.
20 ebooks.
Over 1 million words of these brutes who will protect their women.
Even if they might destroy themselves in the process.
Get the immersive Prothika Fantasy Romance Bundle.
For 80% off, right now, dive into Prothika at a once-in-a-lifetime discount.
The first bundle to offer both ebooks and audiobooks on worldsofprothika.com. Prothika's magic is eternal, and this romantasy bundle will make it endless. Chapter 16. Callous. I thought I knew what heartbreak and desperation felt like on the day I discovered I would never be able to live out my dream of having a child. I can still remember the awful pain in my chest. I have a feeling I'll remember this day too. The day when my impossible dream came to fruition, only to be met with heartache again. Callous, can you say something? Give me something here. Krit's voice orients me back to reality. For a second there, it felt like I had ceased to exist. I then find myself laughing. It's a coping mechanism I've perfected over the last decade. Yeah, I heard you loud and clear. I steel myself straight as I try to keep my composure. I will not let him see how bad this has hurt me. I start to turn away before the dam breaks, only to be met with resistance as his arm grabs mine. Callous, stop, just give me a second, he pleads. You're undeserving of any of my time, Krit, let alone a second. I wish I would have realised that sooner. That's the farthest thing from the truth, but deep down I hope that stings a little bit for him, even if it's just a fraction of what I'm feeling right now. And you're more deserving of what I can offer you, he counters. It's for the best. We both know this wasn't meant to last forever. I'm silent as I continue to stare at him, tears welling in my eyes. Look, I'm not the relationship type. I told you that from the beginning. You deserve someone far better than me, he continues. Shouldn't I be the one to decide that for myself? I'm willing to take the risk if you are. There slips a small shred of vulnerability I was hoping would remain hidden. He must sense my lack of attention because he reaches for me, and I recoil as if I've been burned. And in a way, I have. His face contorts with pain as he realises I've withdrawn from him. With his head down, he seems to contemplate what he's going to say next. He then heightens his form and straightens his shoulders, as if trying to muster some confidence. I'm sorry, Callous, but this is for the best. He stands stoic for a short time, as if anticipating me to beg, or fight back, or show a little bit of the tenacity he knows I have. But I'm rooted where I am, numb, lifeless. Because it isn't just my feelings and future this decision impacts. It also impacts his child. The child he won't know exists. Okay, you're probably right, I respond as nonchalantly as I can muster, and I promptly turn to try once again to walk away. Wait, what did you need to tell me? He calls out. Nothing, Krit. Just forget it. You said your piece, now leave, please. I practically weep. He reaches for me again and I succumb to him and let him. This could be the last time I feel his hands on me, and some selfish part of me wants to burn that into my memory, no matter how much it will hurt in the process. Callous, please, just tell me. Please. Then this can all just be over with. We've laid it all out on the line, he begs. Little does he know this is far from being over with. It's hardly just begun. I suddenly feel empowered. I will not let this heartbreak overshadow the happiness I have felt since learning I'm carrying a child. I raise my head and stand up tall, preparing to deliver the final blow. It doesn't matter. What I had to say, it turns out, doesn't matter after all. Not in the least. Goodbye, Krit, I say with no fervour. He stands motionless, maybe even breathless for what feels like an eternity, but then manages to muster his own words. Goodbye, Callous. Then he turns his back and heads back towards base. When I'm sure he's out of sight and out of earshot, I collapse tiredly onto the ground and sob. Bonnie walks by a few moments later, noticing my distress right away. Luckily, she doesn't ask many questions. I think she can tell the only thing wrong right now is my broken heart. So I just sit in the dirt, crying while Bonnie holds me and smooths my hair. Everything Krit ever said, every moment we spent together, replays in my mind. I knew he didn't want kids. He'd made that clear from the start. But I was hoping that in our case, things might be different. Foolishly, I thought his feelings could change. I truly believed that he would take some time to process and eventually warm up to being a father. And I didn't want him to accept me just because we have a child. I want him to choose me because he cares for me, not because he has to by default. Now, if it turns out I am pregnant, I'll never get to find out if he wanted to have this baby with me. Because it turns out, he's decided he doesn't even want me. And I feel like a real idiot for not even seeing that coming.
Chapter 17. Krit. I did the right thing. That's what I've been trying to convince myself, but time and time again, it feels like I've made a mistake. It's been another 5 days since I talked to Callice, and this time I've taken avoiding her to the next level. Rather than stay in the settlement, I decided instead to pursue my habit since childhood, to go hunting as deep into the wilderness as my legs would take me. I know that if I stayed in the settlement any longer, the depth of my loneliness would become overwhelming. But even out here, in the jungle, this longing is killing slowly. It's found a home so deep in my soul that it feels like it's been inside me since the day I met her. I like to believe a saying I once heard. Sometimes what you are longing for is longing for you. My foolish heart wants to believe this saying so badly. This never-ending loneliness, these constant headaches, sleepless nights that transformed me into an insomniac, the physical pain I feel from my empty heart. All of these symptoms, what do they mean? That I am weak? No one should ever feel this type of emptiness, this kind of longing that eats you up like you're stuck in an endless void. My heart cries out with pain every moment. It doesn't matter what I do, every mundane thing. It hurts before I go to sleep and right after I wake up. There's this war inside of me, mind versus heart, being rational versus emotional, peace or comfortable sadness. In the stillness of every night as I lay down to sleep in my makeshift shelter, I find myself consumed by an all-encompassing longing for Callice. It's a yearning that flows through my veins, pulsing with every beat of my heart and filling every corner of my being. I close my eyes and her image dances behind my eyelids, a vision of ethereal beauty, a goddess in human form. Her smile, radiant and warm, is forever etched in my memory, a beacon of light guiding me through even the darkest of times. The sound of her laughter echoes in my ears, a melodic symphony that soothes my troubled soul. It's a sound that I would give anything to hear, a sound that I would travel to the ends of the earth to experience. In her absence, I feel a void, a gaping chasm that can only be filled by her presence. It's as if a piece of my very self is missing, a vital component without which I am incomplete. I long to hold her in my arms, to feel the warmth of her skin against mine, to breathe in the intoxicating scent that is uniquely hers. It's a craving that consumes me, a hunger that can never be fully satiated. Every fiber of my being aches for her touch, for the gentle caress of her fingertips against my cheek, for the soft press of her lips against mine. It's a desire that burns within me, a flame that can never be extinguished. But I know that with time, my memories of Callice will fade away. I will forget the way her laughter made my heart jump, her smile calming my darkest thoughts. I will forget her, I am sure of that. I'm fully aware that I could never go back to her, and I do not regret it. Not a single fiber in my body regrets it. At least that's what I tell myself. After 5 days in the wilderness, though, I know I need to go back. Instead of heading to my own tent, I head straight to the training yards. Home holds too many memories that I do not want to recall. While washing, I hear a conversation between other orcs about Hansel and Callice. I try my hardest to understand what they're saying without looking suspicious, but still listening attentively. What's going on between them? I think to myself. Has Callice already moved on with him? It pains me to hear how these orcs associate Callice with Hansel. After a few moments, I don't dare to listen more. Instead, my feet lead me involuntarily to see Callice. Confronting her face to face is far too much for me to bear, though. Instead, I sneak around the side of the clinic, Finally, I catch a glimpse of her inside, beyond the tent folds. She's frantically moving around, treating a large group of orcs. My heart constricts, though, when I see that Hansel is one of them. I see her smiling brightly with that familiar smile, the one I've missed so much. My heart thunders in my chest. This is it, I think. There's no way out for me, but I still don't know what I'm supposed to do about it. With these thoughts racing through my mind, I slide against the tree to the ground and sit there contemplating. I know I want her, but I also know that committing to that is terrifying. Am I capable enough to watch her be happy with someone else? As I sit here, my mind reeling with a whirlwind of emotions, I find myself utterly lost and confused. The thought of Callus, the woman who has captured my heart so completely, being happy with someone else is a prospect that I simply cannot bear to entertain. It's a feeling that gnaws at my very core, a sinking sensation that threatens to drag me into the depths of despair. How can I possibly imagine her in the arms of another, her laughter ringing out as she gazes into eyes that are not my own? The mere idea of it sends a searing pain through my chest, as if my heart is being ripped from my body. I try to rationalize these emotions, to make sense of the chaos that swirls within me, but I find myself at a loss. I've never experienced anything quite like this before, a love so intense, so all-consuming, that it threatens to upend everything I thought I knew about myself. In one moment I am filled with a fierce possessiveness, a primal need to claim Callus as my own, to shield her from the world and keep her safe within the confines of my embrace. But in the next, I'm overwhelmed by a sense of helplessness, a realization that I have no control over the desires of her heart. It's a battle that rages within me, a constant push and pull between the rational and the emotional. My mind tells me that I should let her go, that I should want nothing more than for her to find happiness, even if it means watching her walk away from me. But my heart, oh my stubborn, foolish heart, refuses to listen. I find myself replaying every moment we've shared together, every laugh, every touch, every whispered confession in the dark. Each memory is a precious gem, a treasure that I hold close to my chest, afraid that if I let go, they will slip away like grains of sand through my fingers. And yet, even as I cling to these moments, I'm haunted by the fear that they may not be enough. I stand and pace, my hands trembling as I try to make sense of the tempest that rages within me. I want to scream, to cry, to pound my fists against the tree until the pain in my hands eclipses the agony in my heart. But I know that no amount of physical pain can compare to the torment of watching the woman I want slip away from me. And then, in a moment of startling clarity, it hits me. The realization that I've been denying for so long, the truth that I've been too afraid to acknowledge. I love her. I love Callus like she is the only hope I ever needed to stay alive, with a love that is so pure, so intense, that it threatens to consume me whole. It's a love that defies explanation, a love that transcends the boundaries of logic and reason. It's a love that has taken root in the very depths of my soul, intertwining itself with every aspect of my being until I can no longer tell where I end and it begins. And with this realization comes a sense of both terror and exhilaration. Terror because I know that loving Callus means opening myself up to the possibility of unimaginable pain. But exhilaration because I also know that loving her is the most incredible, most transformative experience of my life. I may not know what the future holds, and I may not have all the answers. But in this moment, as I stand here with the weight of my love for Callus pressing down upon me, I know one thing for certain. She is the first and last person that has made me feel like this. Because a love like this is a love worth fighting for. But what will I do about this realization? Am I going to ignore it until it disappears? Or will I take action towards it and give myself into my heart's desire?
Chapter 18. Callus. As I work my morning rounds, I can feel the fatigue rising inside me. The tiredness makes me forget what I'm doing while I'm treating a patient. I pause and try to shake the exhaustion from my brain, but the fog will not lift. I know Bonnie is keeping a close eye on me. No matter how hard I try to hide it, I know she can see how tired I am. She's the only person who knows what I am going through, and I know she's worried about me. I can see it in her eyes every time I look at her. You know that you can take a rest, right? You don't have to work yourself into the ground, she tells me. I know, but if I stop, my mind will run away with the thoughts I don't want to fall into. I give her the best smile I can muster. I can see this is really hard for you, but you need to take care of yourself and your baby. You need to rest, Bonnie pushes. I will rest, just not right now, I assure her. Bonnie looks at me with concern but doesn't push it. I smile at myself because I know she'll keep a close eye on me. I appreciate that I have someone looking out for me. Walking down the corridor, I see Hansel walking around the waiting room, clearly just waiting for me to appear. As far as I can tell, he hasn't seen me yet, and in a panic, I slip into the closest exam room. After about 10 minutes, I poke my head out. He seems to be gone. With a deep breath, I slip back out and continue to work, but it's not enough to distract me as I'd hoped. Hansel is making me so uncomfortable, and I know he has plans in his mind. I don't know, nor do I want to think about what those plans could be. I just need to get him to leave me alone. I finally make it to the cantina for my lunch, grabbing a bowl of soup and some bread. I sit in a corner away from the others, enjoying their lunches. I'd rather not talk to people right now. I finish what little food my stomach will allow me to eat, then return to finish my shift at the clinic. Unfortunately, the one person I really don't want to see is waiting for me outside the clinic doors. Clearly, this orc does not give up. So, what are you doing tonight? He asks. Nothing with you, I respond, trying to stay calm. Come on, just give me a chance, he begs. No, I have already told you that I do not want to go out with you. I never want to go out with you, I tell him firmly. You need to stop. You are making me uncomfortable and annoying me. I want you to leave me alone, I clarify. I stare into his eyes, conveying that I am serious. Hansel's face starts to darken. He balls up a fist, and for a second I am sure he is about to hit me. I brace myself, ready to feel the impact, but I try to hide my fear. I clench my jaw. You need to leave. I will come back, and you will be mine, Hansel threatens me. I gulp as I continue to look into his dark eyes. He turns and walks away. I really hope he never comes back. Bonnie comes out of the clinic. I know she witnessed everything. She looks at me worried. Are you all right? She asks. I look at her and shake my head. My hand shoots to my stomach protectively. I start to think about what he could do with this little miracle. The worry builds in my mind and on my face. Bonnie looks at me with concern in her eyes. Don't worry, I will look into him. He has been here for about 2 months. Maybe knows more about him. Bonnie assures me.
Chapter 19. Krit. At the training center, I'm hoping to work off some of my irritation. It doesn't go so well when I hear Hansel bad-mouthing Callus to the other orcs. Stupid human, playing hard to get. They like to strut around like they're a big deal, but then they see a real orc and go soft. Humans, he scoffs. That's all it takes. Now I have a target for the rage I haven't been able to express all day. Gods help Hansel. My fists clenched tightly, my muscles tensing with a primal urge to confront Hansel, to challenge him head-on. I can feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins, fueling my determination to defend Callis's honor. With a steadfast resolve, I step forward, my voice cutting through the air like a blade. Hansel, I declare, my tone laced with a mixture of anger and determination. I challenge you to a fight, one-on-one. If I win, you never speak her name again. Hansel's eyes widen in surprise, a flicker of fear betraying his confident facade. The realization that his words have consequences dawns upon him, and he hesitates for a moment, weighing the gravity of the situation. But he cannot back down now, not without losing face in front of his companions. Reluctantly, Hansel nods, his voice betraying the trepidation that consumes him. "All right, Krit. You want to fight? You've got it." With a deep breath, I square my shoulders and step forward, my eyes locked with Hansel's. The fire within me burns bright, fueled by a combination of anger, love, and a deep sense of justice. I take a deep breath, allowing the adrenaline to course through my veins, fueling my resolve. Hansel stands across from me, a twisted smirk etched upon his face. The sight of him holding a weapon while I stand unarmed does not deter my determination. I have chosen this path, relying solely on my own strength and skill. I will not be swayed by the advantage he holds. Without hesitation, Hansel lunges at me, his weapon slashing through the air with deadly precision. Instinct guides my movements as I dodge and weave, narrowly avoiding each strike. Pain sears through my flesh as his blade grazes my skin, but I refuse to let it hinder my resolve. With a swift motion, I disarm him, sending his weapon clattering to the ground. I see a flicker of surprise in his eyes, quickly replaced by a renewed determination. He charges at me, fists flying, but I stand my ground, blocking, evading, and countering with calculated precision. Blows rain down upon me, each strike delivering its own sting. But I draw strength from the love I hold for Callus, channeling it into every punch and kick. I endure the pain, knowing that victory lies within reach. With a surge of determination, I unleash a flurry of strikes, each one finding its mark. Hansel's defenses crumble under the relentless assault, his face contorting in agony. Blood stains his features, but I do not relent. Every punch is a testament to the injustice he has inflicted upon Callie's honor. Others have to intervene because I won't let him go, and he can't surrender. As I stand over Hansel's defeated form, a surge of triumph courses through my veins. My heart pounds with the exhilaration of victory, and a victorious smile plays upon my lips. The crowd's stunned silence hangs in the air, a stark contrast to the roaring anticipation that filled the training room moments ago. With a snarl, I lean closer to Hansel's battered face, my voice dripping with contempt. "Stay away from Callis," I growl, the words a warning laced with the raw power that lies within me. Turning away from the broken man before me, I leave the arena behind, my steps filled with purpose and resolve.
Chapter 20. Callus. My eyes widen with shock as I see the wounds that mar Krit's body when he enters the clinic. Deep gashes and bruises cover his once flawless skin. A knot forms in the pit of my stomach, twisting and turning with a mix of guilt and regret. What happened? A part of me doesn't want to find out. I don't want to see him, not ever again after the way he treated me. But I am a professional, and he needs treatment. So I sigh and begin cleaning his cuts. I work in uncomfortable silence for a long time. Finally, Krit clears his throat roughly. "Hansel is not good for you, Callus. How can you not see that?" I stop applying the medicinal ointment to his wound for a moment as a wave of emotion washes over me. Looking up at him with tear-filled eyes, I scoff and say, "Who is good for me then?" "You." As if he truly cares about my well-being. "Both of you aren't good for me," I continue, the hurt evident in my shaking voice as I fight to remain composed. I've had enough of this conversation. "Let's not talk ever again," I state firmly before telling him he is free to leave. His injuries are minor, and now that they are bandaged, my job is done. Without waiting for a response, I rise and exit the room quickly, desperate to be alone with my tumultuous thoughts. I stay busy the rest of the evening, as traffic into the clinic is steady. When it's finally time to go, I'm very aware of the fact that I haven't eaten lunch or dinner. At this moment, my nausea has let up a little and I realise I'm starving. I decide to stop to eat something, veering from my usual path home to the cantina. As I walk alone, movement in my periphery catches my attention. Glancing back cautiously, I scan the area but see no one. Still, an unsettling prickle rises on my neck, telling me I am being watched. I continue walking at a brisker pace, muscles coiled to flee if needed. The darkness that envelops the world this late at night seems to whisper secrets of imminent danger, and my senses become heightened, attuned to every sound and movement around me. My heart pounds in my chest, a steady rhythm echoing the growing unease within. My eyes dart around, scanning the surroundings, searching for any signs of lurking danger. Every flicker of movement, every shadow that dances in the moonlight sends a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. I can almost taste the electric charge in the air, a tangible presence that hangs heavy and foreboding. In the distance, a twig snaps, and my heart skips a beat. My body tenses further, every muscle poised for action. Is it friend or foe? A sense of urgency pulses through me, urging me to react, to defend and protect. The roads are unusually quiet as I make my way toward the cantina. It's well past dinner time, so most people have retired to their homes for the evening. The residential houses loom ahead, but the path I'm on is eerily empty. I pick up my pace, eager to get off these deserted walkways. Suddenly, a hand reaches out from the shadows and grabs me. I let out a startled scream, my heart racing, but before I can even attempt to fight back or break free, a sharp pain shoots through me and everything goes black. Chapter 21. Callous. When I finally come to, I quickly recognise I'm somehow in my room. Then the grim realisation hits that I am also tied to my bed, and there is a handkerchief tied tightly around my mouth, muffling whatever scream I might want my tired body to produce. I try to scream anyway, and bite at the handkerchief, trying to loosen it enough that my cries for help can be heard, but it's no use. No one can hear me. Fear sets in and I start to cry. I can't even wipe my tears due to my hands being tied down. This can't be happening. As I lay there, tears streaming down my face, I see movement to my side. My heart pounds in my chest as I struggle against my restraints, desperate to break free. That's when I see him, Hansel, my attacker, but something's different about him. He looks like he's been through hell. Hansel stumbles into the room, his face a mess of bruises and cuts. His eyes are wild, darting around the room before finally settling on me. A crazed smile spreads across his lips. Well, 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 he slurs, his voice thick with pain and something else I can't quite place. Look who's finally awake. I try to scream again, but the handkerchief muffles my cries. Hansel limps closer to the bed, his good hand reaching out to stroke my tear-stained cheek. I flinch away from his touch, my skin crawling at the contact. That Krit really did a number on me, Hansel growls, his fingers digging into my skin. Concentrated on my face, the bastard. But it doesn't matter. I've still got my hands, and that's all I need to deal with you. My eyes widen in terror as the realisation of his words sinks in. He's going to hurt me, and there's nothing I can do to stop him. I thrash against the ropes holding me down, my wrists burning from the friction. Hansel's hand moves lower, skimming over my collarbone and down to my chest. You know, Callous, you've got a nice place here. But don't worry, no one's going to come looking for you. They all saw us come in together. They think I'm just taking care of you since you haven't been feeling well. A fresh wave of tears spills from my eyes as the hopelessness of my situation crashes over me. I'm trapped, at the mercy of this monster, and no one even knows I'm in danger. Hansel's hand continues its exploration of my body, and I can't stop the sobs that rack my frame. Shh, shh, Hansel coos, his breath hot against my ear. Don't cry, Callous. We're going to have some fun, you and I. And when I'm done with you, well, let's just say you won't be telling anyone about our little adventure. I close my eyes, trying to block out the horror of what's to come. But deep down, I know there's no escape. As Hansel's hands continue to roam over my body, a new fear grips my heart. My baby, the life growing inside me, innocent and helpless. I can't let Hansel hurt my child. A surge of maternal instinct overwhelms me, and I start to struggle with renewed vigour despite the pain and exhaustion. Please, I try to beg through the handkerchief, my words muffled and distorted. Please don't do this. I'm pregnant. My baby. Hansel's eyes flash with anger, and before I can react, his hand cracks across my face, the force of the blow snapping my head to the side. Pain explodes through my skull, and for a moment, my vision blurs. Shut up, Hansel snarls, his face inches from mine. I don't care about your baby. You're mine now, and I'll do whatever I want with you. Tears stream down my face as I try to turn away from him. But there's nowhere to go. I'm trapped, my body and my baby at the mercy of this mad orc. I silently pray for a miracle, for someone to burst in and save us. But no one comes. Hansel's hands grow more insistent, more violent. He's like a wild animal, his eyes glazed over with a sick mix of lust and fury. I try to disconnect from what's happening, to retreat into my mind and protect my baby from the horror of this moment. As Hansel's weight presses down on me, I feel a sudden sharp pain in my abdomen. My eyes fly open, and a new kind of fear floods through me. No, no, no. Not my baby. Please, not my baby. I try to scream, but the handkerchief chokes off my cries. Hansel doesn't even seem to notice my distress, too lost in his own twisted desires. The pain in my stomach grows, and with the realization that my baby may be hurt, something inside me snaps. Through the haze of pain and fear, a spark of defiance ignites in my chest. I can't let him win. I will fight for my baby. With a surge of adrenaline, I thrash against my restraints, twisting and pulling with all my might. To my surprise, I feel the ties around my ankles begin to loosen. Seizing the opportunity, I yank one leg free and, with every ounce of strength I can muster, I lash out, slamming my foot into Hansel's already battered face. He reels back, roaring in pain and shock, his hand flying to his nose. In that brief moment of respite, I frantically work at freeing the ropes binding my wrists. My skin is raw and bleeding from my struggles, but I barely feel the pain. All that matters is breaking free, protecting my child. Hansel staggers forward, his eyes blazing with fury. Blood pours from his nose, mixing with the cuts and bruises that already mar his face. With a snarl, he lunges for me, pinning me back to the bed. I thrash and writhe beneath him, my free leg kicking wildly, but he's too strong. His hand closes around my throat, squeezing, choking off my air. In my struggle, the handkerchief slips from my mouth. I suck in a desperate breath and let out a piercing scream, pouring all my terror and desperation into that one primal cry for help. Help! Somebody help me! My plea is cut short as Hansel's fist slams into my face, silencing me with a burst of blinding pain. It's like my whole world has been rocked off its axis and I get dizzy. You witch! You could have made this so much easier had you just gave in. I'm in so much pain I can't even make an effort to defend myself anymore. My body is actively giving up from the pain and exhaustion. As if he's disgusted with my lack of fervour to fight back anymore, he leaps from the bed and storms out. I'm lying here helpless, waiting for him to come back to finish the job. The anticipation of not knowing what he plans to do next is nauseating. It's then I feel the warm wetness between my legs, and my entire world stops. No, 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 please, no, I cry out. Not to Hansel, but to any higher power that will help me. I adjust myself on the bed. I notice the blood beginning to stain the bedsheets, and my heart breaks in two. It's at that moment I give up what little resolve I had left. I don't care to make it out of this if my baby doesn't make it out with me. Through the haze of pain and fear, I think of my baby, my sweet, innocent child, trapped inside me, suffering along with me. I imagine what colour his eyes would be, if he would have hair like mine, or more like Krit's. A wave of despair washes over me, threatening to pull me under. But even as the darkness closes in, I cling to one final, desperate hope. Someone must have heard my scream. Someone must be coming to save us. They have to be. I close my eyes, whispering a silent prayer for my baby's safety. And then the world fades away, leaving me alone in the shadows, with nothing but the echoes of my own screams to keep me company. There isn't much left of the world after the orcs came.
Savage. Brutal. Merciless.
If you're a woman, you're property. Even to other humans.
What happens when an orc stakes his claim on a human woman? Who would dare to stop him?
Me.
Chapter 22. Krit. As I busy myself cleaning my weaponry, trying to diffuse some of the anger I didn't get to release on Hansel, I see Loki, the chief, approaching from the clearing. Judging by the look on his face and his menacing stature as he nears me, he's coming to share his thoughts on the beating I dealt out to Hansel. But if Loki knew what was good for him, he'd keep his comments to himself and mind his business. Because he can't begin to understand the nature of what I would be willing to do to keep Callus safe. Krit, we need to talk, Loki says, his tone serious. What was that about? Why did you beat Hansel so brutally? I set my weapons aside, standing up to face him. He had it coming, Loki. You know that. Loki shakes his head. This is the second time, Krit. I understand that fights happen, but this seemed personal. What's going on with you? I clench my jaw, trying to control the anger that still simmers beneath the surface. It's personal, Loki. Hansel is a threat, and I won't stand by and let him hurt the people I care about. Loki frowns, crossing his arms over his chest. What do you mean? He's a threat? Has he done something specific? I hesitate, not wanting to reveal too much about my feelings for Callus. Let's just say I have my reasons. I won't let him continue to cause problems for the clan. Loki sighs, running a hand through his hair. I get it. You want to protect the people you care about. But this kind of brutal violence, it's not the answer. It's only going to cause more problems in the long run. I shake my head, feeling my frustration grow. You don't understand. Sometimes violence is the only language orcs like Hansel understand. I did what I had to do to keep everyone safe. Loki steps closer, placing a hand on my shoulder. I'm not saying you shouldn't protect the people you care about, but there are other ways to handle this. Ways that don't involve beating someone half to death. I shrug. Look, I know it seemed bad, but I didn't kill the orc. I only roughed him up a bit. Loki quirks an eyebrow. A bit? From what I heard, you broke multiple bones and left his face a battered mess. I shift uncomfortably. All right. Maybe more than a bit. Krit, if someone hadn't intervened, you would have killed him, Loki says. Whatever is going on in that head of yours, you need to get a grip on it before you do something you regret. I shrug off his hand, turning away. I'll keep that in mind, but I won't make any promises. Loki watches me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he nods. Just be careful, Krit. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. We can't have a war between our own brothers. The only way we can continue to thrive and live in peace is if we have a peaceful leader. We need you focused and level-headed now more than ever." With that, Loki starts to turn and walk away. He doesn't get very far before I notice Loki's second-in-command. He is fast approaching him, a look of apprehension marring his face. "Loki, we have a problem. It's Hansel." Loki turns his head in my direction, and follows his movement, noticing I'm within earshot. I start to approach the both of them. "What's going on with Hansel?" I demand. Looks between the both of us, and Loki nods his head as if giving him permission to speak. "It seems we've made a grave mistake where Hansel is concerned." I scowl in confusion. "What do you mean?" Sighs. "Some of the humans from Hansel's original clan have come forward to me. With the reassurance of protection, one found the courage to speak of Hansel's true nature." Dread pools in my stomach as continues. "For years, Hansel abused his power over those humans. He terrorized and violated them, using threats to ensure their silence. But no more. I've heard their stories now." My blood runs cold as the implications set in. Hansel is not just a troublesome rival, but a monstrous criminal preying on the weak. Anger permeates my veins. There's nothing I despise more than a man who preys on innocent women. Flashbacks from my childhood start to rear their ugly head, but I shove them back down where they belong like I have my entire life. Then a thought crosses my mind that makes me sick to my stomach. "So if Hansel is an abuser, doesn't that mean that Callus is in danger?" Nods solemnly. "It was Bonnie who first came to me. She said Callus had confided in her about feeling unsafe around Hansel. His threats were becoming more bold." At her name, my blood runs cold. All this time, the danger had been looming far closer than I realized. I pale as the full terror of the situation hits me. Everyone blew me off when I voiced my concerns about Hansel, and look who was right after all. Without waiting for any further explanations, I spin on my heel and race towards her place. Nothing will stop me until I lay eyes on her and see that she is okay. I just hope that I'm not too late. Chapter 23. Krit. I race to Callus's quarters as fast as my legs will carry me. And Loki, who insisted on coming, are hardly able to keep up. I know I could take down Hansel on my own, and it would have been my absolute pleasure to inflict as much pain on him as possible. I swear on everything I have, if he has so much as touched a single hair on her head, there will be no one able to keep me from tearing him apart limb by limb and deliver his body parts back to his team in wrapped parcels. Thoughts of him hurting her only fuel my rage and propel my legs to carry me that much faster. My stomach is sick with the thoughts that she may be in pain and I'm not there yet to help her. As we near the entrance to the commons area, we pass by the gatehouse unbothered due to there being no patrol guards anywhere remotely close. But that only further alarms me, knowing there is no one in close proximity to help her if she were to yell for help. We approach Callus's shelter to find an elderly woman pacing in front, looking anxious. "Hey!" I yell, startling the poor woman. "Who are you and what are you doing?" "I'm her neighbor. I was out for a walk and heard screaming," she says. "So I came over and knocked on the door, but she never came to answer. I'm concerned." Barely lets the woman finish her sentence before he kicks the door in, ripping it from its hinges. "Clear the area. Tell anyone you come in contact with to stay inside," Loki instructs the woman as she scurries away. Is yelling something along the lines of remaining calm and collected. But there is only one thing on my mind at the moment, and that is getting to Callus as soon as possible. I burst through the doorway, my heart pounding in my chest as I make my way towards Callus's bedroom. The eerie silence that engulfs the house only amplifies the dread that consumes me. As I approach the bedroom, I hear a faint whimper and my blood runs cold. I throw open the door and the sight before me shatters my world. Hansel is on top of Callus, a wicked grin plastered across his face as he looks up at me. But it's the blood, the dark crimson staining the sheets, that sends me over the edge. Rage consumes me, and I see nothing but red. I lunge at Hansel, tackling him to the ground with a force that shakes the room. My fists connect with his face. each blow fueled by the hatred and anger coursing through my veins. His smug laughter only further fuels my rage. I am lost in a fury, determined to make him pay for every ounce of pain he has inflicted upon Kalus. Distantly, I hear and Loki rushing into the room, their voices muffled by the pounding in my ears. But pulverizing Hansel isn't nearly enough of a distraction for me not to notice the concern in their voices as they move over Kalus. "Help her, hurry!" I scream, and they rush to tend to Kalus. I can't bring myself to stop hitting him. It's like every bad memory of someone I care about being in pain rears its ugly head. Every ounce of anger I've kept bottled inside me spews out. Hansel is just the poor, unfortunate punk that gets the aftermath. His face is a bloody mess, his body limp beneath me, but still, I continue. And Loki make various attempts to detain me and stop me during my mania, but it's useless. It's only when I hear Kalus's weak voice calling my name that I pause. I turn to her, my heart shattering at the sight of her fragile form. She pleads with me, her voice barely audible as tears stream down her face. "Krit, our baby, protect him." Those words hit me like a thunderbolt. Our baby? It's then I realized that's what she was going to tell me the day I broke both our hearts in two. She was going to tell me I was going to be a father. I imagine how excited she must have been to tell me, knowing how it was supposed to be impossible for her to ever conceive. And what's left of my heart breaks in, knowing how bad I must have destroyed her that day. I look at the blood pooling between her legs, and the realization of what Hansel has done crashes over me. If Hansel has robbed her of one of the greatest gifts of her life, I don't know what I will do. I will paint this whole settlement red. The weight of her words and the gravity of the situation sinks in and brings me to my knees. I cry out, begging and Loki to help. Runs to fetch Bonnie. I head for the clinic, gently cradling Kalus in my arms. Her breathing is shallow and her face deathly pale. But she's alive, and right now that's all that matters. "I'm here now, you're safe," I whisper. My heart breaks seeing her like this, battered and bruised at the hands of that monster. I should have protected her. I should have been here. Instead, I pushed her away, and now she's paying the price. I stroke her hair and kiss her forehead, my own tears now falling. "I'm so sorry, Kalitje. I promise I'll never leave your side again. I'll keep you and our child safe, no matter what it takes." Our child. The baby I didn't even know existed until now. Rage boils up in me again towards Hansel for threatening something so innocent, so precious. But I force myself to stay calm. Right now, Kalus needs me. Our baby needs me. I cannot give in to destructive anger again. She grips my hand with what little strength she has left. "Don't leave us," she pleads. "Never," I vow. "You're my entire world now. Both of you." In this moment, I know two things for certain. I will love and protect Kalus and our child until my last breath. And Hansel will pay dearly for what he has done. I will make sure of it. I reposition Kalus in my arms, holding her close against my chest. She feels so small and fragile as I carry her as quickly as I can to the clinic, trying to move her gently but swiftly. Loki stays behind, dealing with the mess that is Hansel. I don't envy him that gruesome task, though a dark part of me wishes I could be the one to remove every trace of that monster from Kalus's home. But right now my place is with Kalus. I settle down on the front steps of the clinic as we wait for Bonnie to arrive. Kalus is curled up in my lap. I kiss her forehead, damp with sweat, and keep whispering words of comfort. Bonnie will be here soon. Just hold on. In my own head, I hope desperately that could find her, that she will get here in time, but I don't voice this thought. She clings to me like I'm her lifeline, tears still rolling down her cheeks. I've never felt more powerless. I can fight 100 battles without fear, but I'm useless against this invisible enemy ravaging her from within. All I can do is hold her close and keep her warm with my body as we wait anxiously for Bonnie. Each minute that ticks by is pure agony. Finally, Bonnie comes running up the walkway, breathless and gasping. "Just hold on, Callus," I whisper, pressing one last kiss to her cold forehead. "Bonnie's gonna make everything okay. Just stay with me."
Chapter 24. Callus. I find myself drifting in and out of consciousness. Occasionally I hear voices, but I can't make out who they are or what they're saying. I'm not quite sure yet where I am. If I'm still trapped in my bedroom with Hansel the devil, or if I'm dead and I'm just existing somewhere in limbo. I pry my eyes open to find the silhouette of what looks like a man looking out the window. The light from the window is so bright that it sends a shooting pain through my head, so I close my eyes again. I find some comfort in knowing I'm not dead, but then the realization hits me that if something has happened to the baby, I'd much rather be dead than here without him. I want to ask the tall, looming figure about my baby, but from what little I saw of him, he seems particularly distressed. His shoulders were slumped, and his hands behind his head, as if he were deep in thought. I need to know if he is okay. I try to summon every ounce of strength I have to cry out and ask whoever this is in the room, but I open my mouth and nothing comes out. I feel helpless. All I can do now is beg whatever higher power is out there that my baby is okay. He needs to be okay. He has to be okay. My eyelids grow heavier and the world around me begins to blur as I feel myself slipping into the realm of dreams. The soft embrace of sleep envelopes me, and I find myself standing in a vast, open field, bathed in the golden light of a setting sun. In the distance, a small figure catches my attention. It's a child, no more than a few years old, with tousled hair and a carefree laugh that echoes across the tranquil landscape. I feel drawn to the child, a sense of familiarity and warmth spreading through my chest. I take a step forward, eager to close the distance between us, but as I do, the little one turns and begins to run. His small legs carry him away from me as fast as they can. Confused and hurt, I call out to the child, my voice tinged with desperation. "Wait! Please don't go!" But the child continues to run, his figure growing smaller with each passing moment. As I slip deeper into my dream, the vast field fades away into darkness. A single point of light appears, silhouetting the young boy. My heart leaps as I recognize he's stopped running. "No! Stop!" I call out again, my voice echoing. The boy turns towards me and smiles and then runs towards the light. I take off after him. As I'm nearing the clearing, I notice someone is now beside him, basking in the glow of the light. It's then I see Krit, with arms stretched wide, awaiting the little boy. His face beams with joy as the child races into his embrace. Krit sweeps the laughing boy up and holds him close. They both turn to me then, their smiles radiant as they begin walking towards me. Knees weak, I sink down, overwhelmed with emotion. A sense of wholeness fills me, seeing Krit and the child together. As the darkness retreats into light, I know this is my family, our family, whole at last. This is everything I've ever wanted. Krit and I had our obstacles, I know, but my heart has always known that he belongs by my side. The boy wiggles free and runs to me. I envelop him in my arms, murmuring, "My sweet child." He nestles close and whispers, "Mama, I love you." Krit comes nearer, his hand caressing my cheek. "We both do," he says softly, as he captures my face in his hands and kisses me. I've never felt such peace. It's as if that kiss was a jolt of lightning, or just the will I needed to open my eyes, because I do just that. The pain registers immediately as I take in my surroundings. Where am I? I was just in the field with Krit and our son. I was happy. Now I'm in a bed with various things attached to me. I start to panic. I don't like this. I must be at the clinic, but I want desperately to go back to my dream. The pain from the sobs racking me are nothing compared to the pain in my heart right now. I need to know something about my baby. Suddenly, though, I find Krit leaning over me, his strong arms enveloping me in a comforting embrace. "It's okay. You're safe now," he murmurs. Still disoriented, I cling to him, the emotions from my dreams spilling over. I began to sob into his shoulder, overcome with relief at having him near. Krit holds me close, gently stroking my hair and repeating words of reassurance. As the fog clears from my mind, the panic returns. Our baby. I pull back to look desperately into Krit's eyes. "The baby? Is he—" My voice breaks, unable to give voice to my deepest fear. Krit cups my face in his hands and gazes at me intently. "The baby is just fine, Callus. He's a little fighter like his mom." I let out a cry, fresh tears coursing down my cheeks. Our child is safe. Krit rocks me as the anxiety and tension of the past days drain away. I hold on to him, my anchor in the storm. When I finally get my bearings and calm down, Krit lifts my head and smiles at me. But it quickly fades, and his eyes cloud with guilt. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there to protect you, Callus," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "When I heard what happened, I was terrified I might lose you. Then when you spoke of the baby, I was even more terrified that I'd lose you both." He clutches my hand, hanging his head in shame. "Some father I'm turning out to be. You needed me, and I failed you." Krit's breath hitches as he struggles to contain his anguish. "I failed the both of you." "No, that wasn't your fault," I say. "The circumstances ripped us apart before I even had the chance to tell you the truth. I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you sooner." Seeing him tormented with regret shatters my heart. I squeeze his hand weakly. "You're here now," I whisper. "Nothing else matters anymore." Krit shakes his head, unwilling to release himself from blame. "You deserve so much better, Callus. Our son deserves better too." His voice drops to a tortured whisper. "I was so stupid. I don't deserve to be his father." Tears burning my eyes, I reach out and gently lift his chin until our gazes locked. "Don't say that," I plead. "I never should have kept you in the dark about him, but I was hurt by your quick dismissal of me. You are this child's father, and I need you to know. You're the man I love and need by my side." Seeing the conviction in my eyes seems to pierce Krit's cloud of doubt. He lets out a shaky breath and touches his forehead to mine. No more words are needed. We stay that way, finding solace and forgiveness in each other's arms. Everything else can wait. This moment is ours. After what feels like blissful eternity, Krit leans down and kisses me ever so gently. "I love you, Callus. I really do," he says with a smile. My heart swells with joy and pride. I hug Krit tightly, ready to be reunited with the child from my dreams, our beautiful baby boy.
Chapter 25. Krit. Confessing my feelings is not something that comes easily for me. From a young age, I was taught that if you expressed your vulnerability, that you would become an easy target, that there were far more important things than love and compassion towards others. My father always said when you let feelings get involved, you're no longer in possession of your mind. Your heart overrides it, and your brain is a better ally during war than your heart. As I look down at Callus sleeping softly in my arms in her bed at the clinic, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I love her, that I would lay my life down on the line for her or our son. And my fear of commitment is nowhere near as scary as the fear of not having both of them in my life. Khalees deserves someone to be all in at all times, to be her protector and her ally. My son deserves a father who is present and involved. I need Khalees to know that from this point forward my heart and my mind are theirs. "What are you thinking about so hard? I can see your wheels turning," she says to me. I've been so caught up in my thoughts I hadn't noticed her stirring and waking up. I laugh and pull her tighter. As Callus looks up at me expectantly, I know it's time to open up to her about my past and why it's been so hard for me to fully commit. I was just thinking about us and how much I want this, you and me. I begin, but expressing emotions doesn't come naturally to me because of how I was raised. My father was very strict and drilled into me from a young age that showing feelings was weakness. He believed the only thing an orc needed to know was how to fight, and nothing more. Caring about others, especially women, would distract you from your mission, so I learned to lock away my heart. Callus reaches out her hands in an attempt to console me. She doesn't know how much I appreciate it, but I plan on spending the rest of my life telling her that I do. I lost my mother as a child. I witnessed her murder right in front of me. My father always said she was too soft, too trusting and emotional. After her death, I vowed to never let myself feel that kind of agonizing pain again. I closed myself off to avoid loving someone that deeply ever again. Krit, I'm so sorry. No child should ever have to go through that. She wipes her nose with the sleeve of her gown. You changed everything, Callus. I know now that blocking out emotions doesn't make you strong. It just makes you hard and unable to truly connect. I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to give you my whole heart, which is what you deserve. I squeeze her hand. There's a reason why I wanted us to remain casual in the beginning, I admit. But I started falling in love with you as time went on. I couldn't help that. I wanted to be vulnerable with you, but I was too worried about losing focus on my priority, which is protecting the clan. Yes, it's still scary for me to open up and make myself vulnerable to you. But I'm realizing the pain of holding back and keeping that wall up between us is so much worse. I know it won't be easy to change after a lifetime of avoiding emotion, but with you by my side, I believe I can do it. She grabs my head and pulls me down for a soft kiss. Thank you for telling me all of that. I know it wasn't easy. So, you want us to be a family? You want to be involved in the baby's life, right? The thought of her doubting if I want to be in my son's life kills me. Callus, I know my difficulty with commitment made you doubt if I truly wanted this child. I can't blame you, with the way I pulled away at times and wasn't fully present. But I want you to know, this baby, a product of our love, is a gift, one I promise to cherish. She starts to cry and I gingerly wipe away her tears. Being a father is new territory for me. With my own upbringing, I'm not sure how to nurture and provide the emotional support a child needs. But for our baby, I'm committed to learning how. I'll learn from you as you guide me to be the sensitive, attentive dad our boy deserves. She buries her head in my shoulder, and I'm overcome for a moment by her scent, one that I will enjoy waking up to every day for the rest of my life. I want to be there for every milestone, big and small, to watch him grow and discover the world with a sense of wonder. To teach him strength comes not from shutting off emotions, but embracing them. I hope to shape him into a man who follows his heart confidently, who knows his self-worth is not tied to power or status, but to how he treats others. It will take time for me to unlearn so much of what my father ingrained in me, but being this child's father means everything. I promise you, Callus, I will strive to be present and engaged. With you by my side teaching me, I know our son will feel supported, secure, and above all, loved. I know you will, Krit. I trust you. She smiles gingerly, and I swear that her smile alone could bring me to my knees. You should know, I was hesitant about commitment at first, too, she says as she readjusts herself on the bed to face me. I tried to keep it casual, not wanting to fall hard. But you changed that, Krit. Being with you made me start believing in love again. I reach out for her hands. It's as if I can't imagine not touching this woman ever again. I've fallen for you, flaws and all, and I forgive you for the times you pulled away from me out of fear. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you Orcish. We all have our insecurities. What matters is that you've opened yourself up now. You've allowed yourself to love fully, despite the risks. I know that wasn't easy, and I appreciate you all the more for it. It's as if I can physically feel all the walls around my heart shatter. The pressure, the release, the peace I feel is like nothing I have ever felt before. We need to stop blaming each other for the ways we've reacted out of self-protection in the past. Neither of us is perfect, but we love each other, and we created a beautiful child together. Let's leave the baggage behind us and start fresh. I pull her in for a kiss because I can't hold out any longer. I want this woman to possess me fully, after what feels like forever, but certainly not long enough. I release her from my grip. Her cheeks flushed and breathing labored. She looks sated, happy. I'm ready to face the future together with you, Krit, she says as she strokes my cheek. No more walls between us. I love you for you. The person you are underneath the emotional armor. You have a big heart inside. I feel lucky to be let in. All I need is your true self. So let's do this together. I spend the next 10 minutes kissing her and worshiping her, showing her how much she means to me until we're interrupted by Bonnie coming to check her vitals.
Chapter 26. Callous. The cold breeze caresses my skin as I make my way through the bustling crowds of the harvest festival. The air is filled with the sweet aroma of cinnamon and apples, mingling with the laughter and chatter of the villagers. It's been 3 months since Krit confessed his love, and since then we've spent every possible second together. Even now it's only been a few hours since I last saw him, and they feel like the longest hours of my life. As I weave through the sea of people, my eyes scanning the crowd for any sign of Krit, I feel a sudden warmth enveloping me from behind. Strong arms wrap around my waist, pulling me close, and I find myself melting into the familiar embrace. Callous, Krit whispers, his breath tickling my ear. I turn in his arms, my gaze locking with his, and I am immediately lost in the depths of his eyes. They shine with a love so intense, so pure, that it takes my breath away. In that moment, the rest of the world fades away, and all that exists is Krit, and the overwhelming love that flows between us. He takes my hand, his fingers intertwined with mine, and leads me to the centre of the festival grounds. The music swells around us, a melodic backdrop to the magic of the moment. Krit turns to face me, his expression a mix of nervousness and determination. Callous, he begins, his voice trembling slightly. These past 3 months have been the most amazing time of my life, and that just proves to me that I never would ever want to go without you again. Tears spring to my eyes as I begin to realise where this is going. The crowd around us falls silent. Callous, my love, my heart, my everything, Krit continues, his voice growing stronger with each word. I cannot imagine a future without you in it. You are the light that guides me, the air that I breathe, the very reason for my existence. Will you be my mate? Just like that, Krit has given me the chance to experience what I've always wanted. The chance to be loved, to be protected, to be desired by someone else. To have a husband to call my own. The world around me blurs as tears stream down my face, my heart so full of love and joy that I fear it may burst. I nod my head, unable to speak past the lump in my throat, and Krit rises to his feet, sweeping me into his arms and spinning me around in a dizzying circle of happiness. The crowd erupts into cheers and applause, their voices rising in a joyous celebration of our love. But for Krit and me, lost in the magic of the moment, the rest of the world ceases to exist. All that matters is the love that we share, the unbreakable bond that ties our hearts together for all eternity. As we stand there, wrapped in each other's arms, the harvest festival swirling around us in a kaleidoscope of colour and sound, I am certain that no matter what the future may bring, our love will endure, a shining beacon of hope and happiness in a world that can often be so dark and uncertain. Standing here, in the middle of the harvest festival, with the eyes of the entire village upon us, I would have expected to feel nervous or self-conscious. But instead, I find myself basking in the warmth and joy of Krit's declaration. There's something incredibly romantic and powerful about him professing his love for me in front of everyone we know and care about. As we finally break apart, Krit takes my hand and leads me into the throng of the festival. We join in the dancing, our bodies moving in perfect harmony, as if we were always meant to be together. The music swirls around us, the laughter and chatter of the villagers blending with the pounding of our hearts. We mingle between the people, accepting their congratulations and well wishes with broad smiles and laughter. The atmosphere is electric, filled with a sense of joy and celebration that is infectious. I find myself lost in the moment, my worries and fears melting away in the face of the overwhelming happiness that surrounds us. As the night wears on and the festival begins to wind down, Krit and I steal a quiet moment together. We stand at the edge of the festival grounds, our arms wrapped around each other, gazing up at the star-strewn sky. In this moment, everything feels right, as if the pieces of my life have finally fallen into place. I have endured so much in my past, faced countless challenges and heartbreaks, but standing here with Krit, I know that it has all been worth it. The love we share is a testament to the strength and resilience of the human and orc spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and happiness can still be found. As I rest my head on Krit's shoulder, feeling the steady rise and fall of his chest, I am filled with a sense of peace and contentment that I have never known before. This is where I belong, wrapped in the arms of the man I love, surrounded by the warmth and support of our community. Looking back on this night, I know that it will forever be etched in my memory as one of the happiest moments of my life. It's a turning point, a new beginning filled with promise and possibility. And as Krit and I embark on this journey together, I am certain that no matter what challenges we may face, our love will see us through, a guiding light in the darkness, leading us home. In this moment, I feel a love so profound, so all-encompassing, that it threatens to overwhelm me entirely. It's as if every cell in my body is alive with the electricity of our connection, every heartbeat a testament to the depth of my feelings for this man who has so completely captured my soul. As I gaze into his eyes, those warm, expressive pools that seem to hold the secrets of the universe, I am struck by the realization that I am truly, irrevocably in love. It's a love that transcends mere words or gestures, a love that is woven into the very fabric of my being, as essential to my existence as the air I breathe. He brings me close, running his large hands along my skin and reminding me that he will always keep me safe, no matter the circumstances. Krit's touch, gentle yet firm, ignites a fire within me that burns with an intensity I have never known. His fingers trace the contours of my face, mapping every curve and plane as if committing them to memory. And I find myself leaning into his caress, craving the warmth and comfort of his skin against mine. In his arms, I am home, a sense of belonging washing over me like a soothing balm. Time seems to stand still, the seconds stretching into eternity, as if the universe itself is conspiring to grant us this perfect, fleeting moment of pure, unadulterated bliss. As Krit's lips meet mine, the kiss is a tender exploration of love and longing. In this moment, I am not just Calice, the woman who has endured countless trials and heartaches. I am Calice, the woman who is loved, cherished, and adored by the one who holds the key to her heart. And as we sway together, our bodies moving in perfect harmony to the rhythm of our love, I am struck by the realization that this is what it means to be truly alive. To love and be loved in return, to find solace and strength in the arms of another, to know with absolute certainty that you have found your soulmate, your partner in all things. This is where I belong, wrapped in the arms of the man who has shown me the true meaning of love, who has given me the courage to dream of a future filled with joy and laughter. Earth is pretty much a desolate wasteland since the orcs came over from Prothika, and being a woman, the best you can hope is to be someone's property. Now, after my curvy body catches Korthar's eye, he'll claim me, and I'll serve him, in any way he pleases.
You're mine now. Listen to this story and more when you get the complete Orc Warriors of Prothika audiobook and ebook bundle.
40 books, 19 audiobooks, 19 ebooks. You even get 1 free novella and 1 free audiobook.
All for a shocking 90% off.
Prothika's magic is eternal, and the complete Orc Warriors of Prothika bundle will bring over 100 hours of that magic to you.
Chapter 27, Krit. Callus keeps her impossibly small hand tucked in mine as we make our way back to my dwelling. While the Harvest Festival will forever be ingrained in my memory as one of the best days ever, I'm glad we're heading home. Our home. She said yes. I looked down at the top of her brunette head and smiled to myself. This woman, this treasure is going to be my wife. As we walk hand in hand, I replay the last few months in my head, going through every minute that led us to where we are right now. Despite the trials and tribulations, I wouldn't change a thing. The rounder she grows with our child, the more beautiful I think she becomes. The cool evening breeze rustles the leaves above us, and the scents of the harvest still linger in the air as we walk through the quiet streets of the village. Callus's pregnant belly sways gently with each step she takes, and I can't help but feel a surge of pride and protectiveness welling up inside me. She glances at me from the corner of her eye, her brown eyes shining with love and happiness. Our breaths mingle together in the chilly air as we near my house on the outskirts of the settlement. I nudge the door open with my foot and step inside, kicking it shut behind us. The fireplace flickers warmly in the sitting room, casting a soft glow over the space. Gently, I set Callus down on the plush rug in front of the hearth. She gazes up at me, her brown eyes dark and wanting. I lower myself beside her, bringing my hand to rest on the swell of her belly. At 7 months pregnant, I can easily feel the strong kick of our child within. I love you, I murmur, leaning in to capture her lips with mine. She sighs into the kiss, her fingers tangling into my hair. My heart swells with emotion, love, desire, protectiveness. This woman, this human, is everything to me. As the kiss deepens, our hands begin to wander, caressing and exploring each other's bodies with familiar intimacy. The rest of the world fades away, until there is only us and the passion that burns between us. This scene is about to get too steamy for this platform's comfort, and as much as we'd love to keep going, their guidelines say we need to stop here.
To continue releasing these free audiobooks on this platform, we've got to play by the rules.
The passion doesn't end here.
Visit worldsofprothika.com to hear the full, uncut version of this fantasy romance, and every daring moment that YouTube can't handle.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off unabridged audiobooks in the worlds of Prothika.
Don't let YouTube hold you back. Immerse yourself in a world of magic, danger, and unfiltered passion.
Prothika's magic is eternal.
Listen unabridged and you'll never want to go back.
We lay there panting, tangled in each other's arms, our breathing ragged and hearts pounding in our chests. I love you, I whisper against her temple, reveling in the feel of her warmth against mine. I love you too, she replies softly, running her fingers through my hair. This time feels better than all the rest. There's no more uncertainty between her and I. We finally realized what has always been true all along. We love each other. And as we lay there basking in our post-coital bliss, I cannot help but marvel at the fact that this is my life now. A human woman who once meant little to me is now my mate, and forever love. A small smile tugs at my lips as I drift off into an exhausted sleep with her in my arms.
Chapter 28. Callous. I stand beneath the shimmering canopy, my heart racing with anticipation. The gentle breeze carries the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and the soft rustling of leaves creates a soothing melody. My mind drifts back to the early days when Krit and I were seeing each other in secret, as friends with benefits. The thrill of our stolen moments, the desperate, passionate kisses in the corners, it was all so exciting. Back then, I never thought he would develop feelings for me. He's an orc captain, conditioned for a life dedicated to the clan's protection. He had other priorities, other ambitions in mind. Yet he still made space for me in his life. Even when things fell apart and I thought I'd lost him forever, a piece of my heart still belonged to him. Then came the shocking news that I was pregnant, and my world shifted on its axis once more. From that dark moment filled with difficulties and challenges, our relationship blossomed into something deeper, richer than I ever could have imagined. The easy banter, the lingering looks charged with meaning, that feeling of utter rightness whenever we were together. The memories play like a reel behind my eyes, the good times, the bad, the moments that shaped us into who we are. Ever since Hansel's attack on me, Krit has made it his mission to never allow me to feel that same pain and terror ever again. He's succeeded. I never have to worry around Krit. He makes me feel whole. And now I feel Krit's presence before me, his hand gently clasping mine as we face each other, our eyes locked in an unbreakable gaze. The ceremony begins, and the air is filled with a palpable energy. The shaman's words drift through the air, each syllable imbued with the power of our love. I listen intently, my soul resonating with every promise we make to each other. As the mating ritual commences, I feel a surge of emotions coursing through my veins. Our bodies move in perfect synchronicity, each touch a declaration of our boundless love. The connection between us deepens with every passing moment, our hearts beating as one. "Callous," my partner whispers, his voice filled with adoration. "You are my everything, my love, my life, my eternity." Tears of joy stream down my face as I reply, "And you are mine, forever and always." The shaman pronounces us mated and married, and a collective cheer erupts from the gathered crowd. I barely hear them, lost in the depths of my partner's eyes. In this moment, nothing else exists but the two of us and the love that envelops us. As the ceremony comes to a close, we turn to face our loved ones hand in hand. Their faces are alight with joy, their smiles reflecting the happiness that radiates from within us. "We did it," I whisper to Krit, my voice trembling with emotion. He squeezes my hand, his touch reassuring and strong. "We did. And this is just the beginning of our forever." As we walk down the aisle together, I am filled with an overwhelming sense of peace and contentment. This is where I am meant to be, by his side, our hearts intertwined for eternity. Our love story has only just begun, and I know that together we can overcome any challenge that lies ahead. The magic of the ceremony lingers in the air, a tangible force that seems to shimmer and dance around us. I've always been captivated by the beauty of mating ceremonies, the way two souls come together in an eternal bond. But experiencing it firsthand is something entirely different, a feeling that defies description. As we make our way to the reception area, I can't help but reflect on the countless ceremonies I've witnessed over the years. Each one was unique, a testament to the love shared between the couples. I had felt envious of the loving couples. I wanted what they had, but knew that it would be difficult finding the right one for me if I continued with my casual relationships on the side. Thankfully, Krit came along and gave me what I was desperately searching for, all those years. I remember the way their eyes sparkled with adoration, the way their hands intertwined as if they were always meant to be joined. Now I understand the true depth of those moments. The love I feel for my partner is all-consuming, a fire that burns bright within my soul. It's a love that has been forged through the trials and triumphs we've faced together, a love that has only grown stronger with each passing day. "You're lost in thought," Krit murmurs, his voice soft and tender. I smile, leaning into his embrace. I'm just thinking about how incredible this all is. I've always dreamed of a love like this, a love that transcends time and space. He nods, his eyes filled with understanding. I know exactly what you mean. Watching those ceremonies, I always wondered if I would ever find a love that powerful. And then I found you. My heart swells with emotion, and I can't help but pull him closer, our bodies fitting together like two pieces of a puzzle. I'm so grateful for you, for us, for this moment. I can't help but marvel at the magic that surrounds us. The twinkling lights, the soft laughter of our loved ones, the way the world seems to fade away until it's just the two of us. This is what I've always dreamed of, a love that is pure and true, a love that will stand the test of time. And as I look into Krit's eyes, I know that I have found it. This is just the beginning of our journey together, a journey filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. Now, that dream has become a reality, and it's even more breathtaking than I could have ever imagined. The love I share with him is a force of nature, a bond that has been forged through the fires of adversity and tempered by the strength of our commitment to one another. I watch as our guests dance and laugh, their faces alight with happiness. They have been witness to our journey, the ups and downs, the triumphs and the challenges. They have seen the way our love has grown and flourished, and now they are here to celebrate with us as we embark on this new chapter of our lives. "May I have this dance?" Krit asks, his hand outstretched in invitation. I nod, my heart fluttering with excitement as I take his hand and allow him to lead me onto the dance floor. As we move together, our bodies perfectly in sync, I can't help but reflect on the incredible journey that has brought us to this moment. I rest my head on his shoulder, closing my eyes and savouring the feeling of his arms around me. This is what I have always wanted, a love that is pure and true. And as we continue to dance, lost in the magic of the moment, I know that I am exactly where I am meant to be. As the reception draws to a close, Krit and I find ourselves alone on the dance floor, swaying to the gentle melody of our favourite song. I gaze into his eyes, losing myself in the depth of his love and adoration. In this moment, everything else fades away, and it's just the two of us, our hearts beating as one. "I love you," he whispers, his voice filled with emotion. More than words could ever express. "I love you too," I reply, my own voice trembling with the intensity of my feelings. "Forever and always." Slowly, almost imperceptibly, we lean in towards each other, our lips drawing closer with each passing second. The anticipation builds, a delicious tension that fills me with thrilling excitement. And then, our lips meet in a kiss that is both tender and passionate, a kiss that speaks volumes about the love we share. It's a kiss that seals our bond, a promise of a lifetime spent together. As we lose ourselves in the kiss, the world around us disappears. There is no one else, no other moment that matters. It's just us, our love, and the incredible journey that lies ahead. When we finally pull apart, breathless and flushed, I can't help but smile. This is the beginning of our forever, a love story that will be written in the stars. "That was incredible," Krit murmurs, his lips resting against my forehead. "It was," I agree, my heart so full of love that it feels like it might burst. And it's just the beginning. We share another kiss, this one slower and more languid, a kiss that speaks of a lifetime of love and devotion. It's a kiss that promises forever, a kiss that seals our fate. As we make our way back to our guests, hand in hand, I can't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I am so incredibly lucky to have found a love like this. And as I look into my new mate's eyes, I know that I am exactly where I am meant to be. This is our forever. I can't wait to see where it takes us. The memories of this day will be forever etched in my mind, a testament to the incredible love we share. I know that there will be challenges ahead, moments when our love will be tested. But I also know that together we can weather any storm. As we say our goodbyes to our guests and prepare to embark on our new life together, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. This is the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with endless possibilities and boundless love. Krit takes my hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "Are you ready?" he asks, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm ready," I reply, my heart soaring with joy. "Let's do this together." And with that, we step out into the world, ready to face whatever lies ahead. Our love will be our guiding light, a beacon of hope and strength that will see us through anything. This is our forever, a love story that will be remembered for generations to come. And I couldn't be more grateful to be living it, hand in hand with the love of my life.
Chapter 29. Krit. I look at my wife, a smile on my lips. This is what life is all about. Khalees at my side, her belly huge with my growing child. I cannot wait to meet him and spend my life with Khalees raising him. Our mating ceremony was exactly what she wanted it to be. She told me that and it made me happy. Her happiness is mine. However, I'm eager to be alone with my mate. The party dies down and the guests leave. The celebration is finally over. I take her hand and lead her outside, under the stars, through the settlement square. The moon is high above us, illuminating the way. It's so bright tonight that we don't need a lantern to see in front of us. The flowers that surround us are fragrant and colorful. The scent of them fills my nose. I stop and turn to her, my green hands clasping her delicate human ones, her belly between us. Her stomach is bigger every time I see her these days, and it amazes me. I will be a father soon. I wonder who our child will take after. Will he have my orc features? Or will his human genes dominate over everything else? Either way, I will love him until the end of Protheca. I love you, Khalees, I say, pulling her close to me. She smiles up at me, the moon illuminating her beautiful face. I love you too, Krit, she replies before standing on tiptoe and pressing her lips to mine. Sorry for the interruption. I know you were gearing up for a steamy scene, but it's way too hot for this platform.
If we want to keep sharing our stories for free, we have to abide by this platform's guidelines.
To get the full unabridged audiobook, go to worldsofprotheca.com.
Browse through unabridged audiobooks, countless ebooks and bundles offered at a discount.
If the thought of me whispering all the dirty details into your ear isn't enticing enough, use discount code YouTube30 to get 30% off of all digital products.
Story after story, audiobook after audiobook, the worlds of Protheca are waiting for you.
Protheca's magic is eternal.
But unabridged, it's unforgettable.
When I'm done, she lays upon my chest and trails patterns into my skin. I run my fingers through her hair as I've done many times before. How foolish was I before? I had this woman all along and didn't realize what she meant to me until I nearly lost her. I'll never make a mistake like that again.
Chapter 30. Khalees. Months have passed since that fateful day in the clinic when Krit and I finally expressed our love for each other. The spark between us ignited into a passionate flame, and our bond has grown ever stronger. Now, as I cradle our newborn son in my arms, I'm overcome with a profound sense of joy and contentment. Gazing down at his innocent face, I marvel at the tiny miracle we created together. His delicate features, the button nose, rosebud lips, and wispy lashes fill my heart with an all-encompassing love I never knew possible. Krit stands beside me, his eyes shining with pride and adoration. The way he looks at our child, as if he holds the entire universe in his hands, takes my breath away. In this moment, I know that every challenge we faced, every obstacle we overcame, was worth it for this precious gift. "And you'll grow up to be a mighty warrior like I am," Krit whispers to our son as I sit back and watch them. "Yes, you will. Or perhaps you'll be a smart medic like your mother. You're more than capable of that." While our baby boy coos and nestles closer to my heart, I am struck by the incredible journey that brought us here. The love Krit and I share, once a fragile seedling, has blossomed into a mighty oak, resilient, enduring, and deeply rooted. Our son is the beautiful culmination of that love, a testament to the unbreakable bond we have forged. With each passing day, we treasure the moments spent with our little one. His soft giggles, curious eyes, and tiny grasping fingers fill our lives with immeasurable happiness. Krit and I take turns singing lullabies, changing diapers, and marvelling at every new milestone. Together, we are learning the intricate dance of parenthood, stumbling at times but always catching each other with love and understanding. As I watch Krit tenderly cradling our son, whispering promises of love and protection, my heart swells with gratitude. We have created a family built on the foundation of our unwavering love, a love that will guide us through the joys and challenges that lie ahead. Looking into our baby's eyes, I see a reflection of our love, pure, intense, and infinite. I know that no matter what the future holds, Krit and I will face it together, hand in hand, with our son as the shining light that illuminates our path. In this perfect moment, I am complete, blessed with a love that knows no bounds, and a family that is my greatest treasure. Holding my precious child in my arms, I am overwhelmed by a love so profound and all-encompassing that it takes my breath away. The weight of this tiny being, a perfect blend of Krit and myself, fills my heart with a joy I never knew possible. I gaze down at his face, marvelling at the delicate features. Being a mother is a role I never fully understood until this moment. The instant our son was placed in my arms, my world shifted, and everything fell into place. The love I feel for him is a love that would move mountains and cross oceans, just to ensure his happiness and well-being. As I watch Krit cradle our child, his eyes filled with adoration and wonder, I am struck by the incredible gift I have given him. This tiny life, created from our love, is a piece of my heart that I have willingly and joyfully placed in Krit's hands. I have given him the most precious thing I could ever offer, the chance to be a father, to experience the unconditional love that comes with parenthood. Seeing Krit's face light up with pure joy as he holds our son, I know that I have made the right choice. The love we share has taken on a new dimension, growing and evolving to encompass the life we have created together. Our child is a symbol of our unbreakable bond, a physical manifestation of the love that flows between us. I watch my two loves, and my heart swells with gratitude and contentment. I am filled with a sense of purpose, knowing that my role as a mother is the most important one I will ever undertake. I vow to love, nurture, and guide our son through every step of his life, showering him with the same unconditional love that Krit and I share. "You've given me the most precious gift in the world, Callus," he says, holding our son. "You're the most wonderful thing that's come into my life, but so is he." Krit's gaze is filled with tenderness as he cradles our little one close to his heart. I can almost hear the silent promises he's making, promises to always be there, to listen without judgment, and to guide our son through life's challenges with patience and wisdom. In the gentle way Krit touches our baby's cheek, I see an orc who has found his purpose. He wants to be the father he never had, to break the cycle of pain and misunderstanding that plagued his own childhood. Krit's every action is filled with intentional love, a love that seeks to nurture and encourage our son's unique spirit. I know that Krit's deepest desire is for our baby to feel understood, to know that he has a safe haven in his father's arms. Krit wants to create a home filled with laughter, warmth, and acceptance. As Krit rocks our baby to sleep, humming a soothing lullaby, I can see the determination in his eyes. He is committed to being the best father he can be, to learning and growing alongside our son. Krit's love for our child is a fierce, protective love that will weather any storm and overcome any obstacle. Watching Krit with our baby, I am filled with a sense of awe and gratitude. I know that he will move Pratheka to ensure our son feels loved, valued, and understood. In Krit's strong, gentle hands, our baby has found a father who will always be his unwavering support, his guiding light, and his safe harbour. Through the love Krit pours into our son, I know that he is healing his own wounds, rewriting his story, and creating a legacy of love that will endure for generations to come. In this moment, I see an orc who has found his calling, a father whose love knows no bounds, and a partner who will walk beside me as we raise our child in a home filled with unconditional love and understanding. As the days pass with our baby, I wake up every day with joy in my heart. The soft morning light filters through the curtains, casting a warm glow over our bedroom. I blink away the remnants of sleep, my eyes drawn to the bassinet beside our bed, where our newborn son lies peacefully. Krit stirs beside me, his arm instinctively reaching out to pull me closer. Together we rise from the bed, our hearts full of anticipation for the precious moments that await us. I gently lift our baby from his bassinet, cradling him close to my chest. His tiny body radiates warmth, and I marvel at the perfect weight of him in my arms. We settle back onto the bed, Krit propping himself up with pillows as I carefully place our son between us. Our baby's eyes flutter open, his gaze still hazy with sleep. Krit reaches out, his finger gently tracing the soft curve of our son's cheek, a smile playing on his lips. As if awakened by his father's touch, our baby begins to wiggle, his tiny limbs stretching and kicking with newfound energy. I can't help but laugh, my heart swelling with a joy I never knew possible. Krit and I exchange a glance, our eyes shining with the love we share for this tiny miracle. We begin to play, our fingers gently tickling our son's tummy, eliciting gurgles and coos that fill the room like the sweetest music. Krit leans in close, peppering our baby's face with feather-like kisses, his stubble eliciting a surprised giggle from our little one. I join in the fun, my fingers gently grasping our son's tiny feet, marvelling at the perfection of each tiny toe. I bring them to my lips, blowing gentle raspberries that send our baby into a fit of delighted laughter. The sound is infectious, and soon Krit and I are laughing along, our hearts overflowing with happiness. As the morning light grows stronger, we continue our playful antics, introducing soft, handmade toys and watching with awe as our son's eyes widen with curiosity. His tiny hands reach out, grasping at the colourful objects, his mouth forming a perfect O of wonder. In these moments, the world outside our bedroom fades away, and all that matters is the love we share, the bond that grows stronger with each passing second. I lean into Krit, my head resting on his shoulder as we watch our son explore his surroundings, his eyes alight with innocent discovery. Time seems to stand still, and I wish I could bottle this feeling, this all-encompassing love that fills every corner of my being. I know that these precious moments, these early morning playtimes are fleeting, but they are the building blocks of a lifetime of memories. As our son's eyelids begin to droop, his tiny body succumbing to the pull of sleep once more, I gather him into my arms. Krit wraps his arms around us both, cocooning us in his warmth and love. We sit there, a family, our hearts beating as one, grateful for the incredible gift we have been given. These morning playtimes, filled with laughter, love, and the simple joys of parenthood, are the threads that weave the tapestry of our lives. They are the moments I will cherish forever, the memories I will hold close to my heart, long after our son has grown. For now, I bask in the perfection of this moment, knowing that with my family by my side, I have everything I could ever need.